Good morning, everyone. How sweet it is, as Jackie Gleason used to say. How sweet it is. It's a beautiful Friday, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you are, I hope it is a beautiful, beautiful day. Welcome to the show and stay with us. We're here until midday. Here we go. Tony's here, Gary's here. Gee, that's loud.
Those kids were talking loud.
They just suddenly sounded extremely loud. No, that's okay, that's okay. Gary's here, Les is here, Tony's here, Caroline's here, and you're here. That's what matters. Does anyone follow the football around this table?
I love the football.
Go Geelong.
No.
Go Geelong. Yeah.
Only the football Logies.
Cats and lions.
Brownlow.
Cats and lions. Mm-hmm. Cats are...
They're tipped, actually, to be
pussy at the
more the
Brownlow.
favourites in Brisbane.
That's Geelong. Is it?
Yeah,
Geelong and the Lions.
Victoria.
Okay.
Yep.
It's all going to happen.
The grand final tomorrow.
Tomorrow, 2 o'clock Central Standard
Oh,
Time.
that's great because then the football's all over with.
But then
Then we get cricket.
But then we've got to
that's
look
even
forward
worse.
to Snoop Dogg and the welcome to country and the burning of the eucalyptus leaves.
I call him Poop Dog.
By the way, and he burns more than eucalyptus leaves, believe me.
He's a bit of grey-blue smoke.
How
Is that
did,
what
they,
they say?
how did they stoop to such a bozo? That's
I
Poop
don't
Dog
know.
guy. Isn't he a joke?
I have no idea. But
Remember in 1994 when the Seekers sang at the grand final? What a letdown. With,
yeah,
way down
Caroline,
with
which hotel did he come and take over?
They didn't name the hotel.
They didn't name the hotel, but on
But they
3AW
got
this morning,
2 floors.
they took over two. This is Snoop Dogg's entourage and Snoop Dogg. They took over 2 floors of this really swank hotel. And what did they do then?
They turned off the smoke alarm.
Turned off the smoke alarms. I wonder why.
No, the hotel just thought it would be more.
Yeah.
Bit of hoochie cooch was in the atmosphere.
They've
know,
renamed
hoochie
the
coochie.
MCG. It's now the MCGG because Snoop Dogg has a double G at the end of his name.
All right. Okay.
I thought it was Snoop Dagg.
All right. Anyway, we were scratching our heads trying to think of somebody, an authority, who could talk to us. Shut up! What are you? Why are you talking over everybody?
Very uncontrolled this morning.
We were scratching our heads and thinking, who are we going to get to talk about football? Because we don't know anything about football. I don't want to know anything about football. I do. You do? A little bit.
We have an expert this morning, Jeremy.
We do? Would you like to introduce him?
No, you do it. You're the boss.
Oh, well, we came up with H.G. Nelson, or as he says, H.G. Nelson.
HG.
H.G. Nelson. You would know, the, what was it, Roy and H.G.?
HG and Roy.
Roy.
Or is it Roy and HG? I'm not quite sure. We should ask him that this morning.
Or how did he end up with second billing when he was the guy?
Well, I think he's taller.
Oh, it could well be that. You know, he's Adelaide.
He's an Adelaide boy, yes. Yeah, ex-Prospect Road.
Oh, I read somewhere that he grew up in Wayville.
Oh, maybe he ran away from home at an early age.
No, hang on.
You there, HG?
Hang on, I didn't make a note of where he was. He was born in Walwa Private Hospital, Myrtle Bank, South Australia.
Oh, it's only around the corner.
His dad was Gordon and his mum was Beryl. And
I don't think that hospital.
oh, you're right. No, it's here. The family moved to the suburb of Prospect, where he lived until he was 22 years of age.
Lovely big 2-storey place. Beautiful street presence. Lovely place. Why would you leave that place?
I don't know. People.
There or something.
Sydney was calling, probably. I don't know.
Sydney.
Anyway, H.G. Nelson will be with us. Frank Pangallo is going to drop by. Professor Ian Plimer is on the road again. He won't be in the studio, but he's on his way to Broken Hill, I think, but he's okay to talk with us. Dr. John Bruni will be here at 10:30. Jason Morrison, one of the best journalists in this country. You can't talk in front of a microphone while another microphone is on. I mean, it's a simple thing.
We can fix that. We can turn the microphone off.
Well, I can. Okay, I'll do that. I'll do that.
The compere has lost all control of the show this morning.
I'm not a compere. I'm just a participant. And Professor Peter Ridd. Does anyone know the name Professor Peter Ridd? Wait till I turn you on. Now you can talk.
Is he from Rent a Kill or something?
No.
Or Ant Riddle?
No.
Oh, okay. I
You're
don't know him.
overthinking it.
In that case, I don't know him.
No, you're overthinking. He is a marvellous, marvellous man. Some years ago, he had the temerity, while being a professor of marine biology at James Cook University, he had the temerity to challenge other academics who were saying that the Great Barrier Reef was dying. Now, we hear this on particularly the ABC, and we just assume that it's right. The ABC, there's an agenda. I'll put it to you that way.
Well, the ABC wouldn't fib.
Well, I don't think they're fibbing. I think that they think it's absolute gospel. That's what they think.
Hallelujah.
Well, I don't know who's in behind writing the script, but the script is wrong, and the professor told them. The professor said there is nothing wrong with the Great Barrier Reef.
Well done, Professor.
And then they sacked him.
Wasn't it?
Hence the name Rid.
Well,
They
got rid of him.
well, look.
Makes sense to me.
Perfectly reasonable.
Well, it doesn't make sense to me. It's a little bit like saying the silly girl.
Oh, don't say that again.
Well, it's about freedom of speech, isn't it? It is about freedom of speech.
Of course, you were right. We all know this.
Well, I think I was right then, and I think I'm
Indeed
right
you were.
You can only get sacked
now.
once.
Talking about silly things, you know how we've got this major toxic algal bloom here in South Australia?
Yes.
So the ABC, talking about the ABC, they have written this, that they understand that 6 internationally recognised marine scientists who are researching South Australia's toxic algal bloom at the moment are set to lose their jobs at Flinders University. Well, isn't that a marvellous coincidence that we've got an algal bloom and Flinders wants to get rid of the 6 eminent professors who are researching this?
That wouldn't be the real reason, would it? What would be the
Well,
real
they're
reason?
doing a restructure, but
But we'd do it later, wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you defer the sacking of 6 professors?
That might be coincidental, maybe.
Unless, of course...
Maybe they don't want an answer to this.
Sending them to
algal
the
bloom.
ovens.
Well, there's another thought, and that is that perhaps these professors think that the whole thing, as Professor Plimer does, is a perfectly natural part of the cycle. Dead silence.
Well, apparently there are algal blooms. I just found out yesterday there are algal blooms in California off the coast. So it's not necessarily a phenomena just for Adelaide, South
No,
Australia.
but I wouldn't be rocket science to try and work out what actually causes the algal bloom.
I don't think it's a slow thing, like if you say the temperatures are rising a little. It's not going to be that. It's going to be something major that happened, like an inrush of water with fertilisers and nutrients down the Murray.
That's what
or
happens.
Something like that.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
going to be a big event that triggered it.
Lots of nitrogen and
That's
stuff
right,
like
exactly.
that.
I think that's probably...
Yeah.
It's not the desal plant that's been there 20 years.
Oh, don't say that to Frank.
That just sorry, did he say that?
Frank, I think,
just
thinks
think
there's
it's
a
a decent-
connection, yes.
No, I don't think so.
No.
And that's just putting out salty water. That's not going to...
No, salinity can affect the rate of chemical reactions. It can actually slow it or
The
enhance
would
it.
mix. It would then be focused on the location of the desal plant, I'd imagine, because it would all disperse and
But
dilute.
the reality of the desal plant is that it was built double the size of what it should have been for South Australia. And then to keep the warranty going, they had to use it. But we've extensively used it over this dry period we've just had because South Australia was in drought and there was a water shortage. So they turned up the volume to pump it up as much as possible. So this is not necessarily coincidental that maybe, and I'm not suggesting that the desal plant is 100% contributor to the problem, but it may be part of the problem. It's like aviation accidents. Seldom is it one single factor that's caused the accident. It's a collection of issues.
Usually it's a 3-cent O-ring.
That's right.
Lack of maintenance.
Well, no, the smallest, cheapest component can bring down a shuttle, can do almost anything. What else is around? Inflation has edged up. 3% up from 2.9.
Which means we probably won't have any interest rate cuts
Yeah.
next time.
Yeah, but if you take the cost of electricity out of that figure, it comes back to 2.6.
Yeah, why do they exclude electricity when that actually feeds into everything? It's ridiculous. They say we exclude volatile things like electricity and something else.
Yeah, well,
House prices.
look,
But
the
they're
government would take it out if it could.
Insurance costs usually don't go in there. Like, look
that's
at
ridiculous.
Look at the price
That's
of how insurance on houses, motor cars has gone
But
up.
that's absurd because it's a fundamental cost that everyone has
Yes.
to bear, as is electricity.
Yeah.
Power feeds into everything.
It does.
Yeah, the cost of electricity has risen here, looking down the figures, 24.6% it's gone up in the last 12 months. That's nearly 25% increase in the cost of electricity. Hey, Chris Bowen, did you hear that? You said it was cheaper.
We were going to get money back.
What figures are you looking at?
There will be no power price increase under a government I lead.
I agree with President Trump.
That was
The whole thing
carbon
is a
tax.
con.
Carbon. Oh,
Who thinks it's a con?
the big con.
A big con, yes.
Could be partly a con.
What did you think of his address to...
Never seen so many po-faced people listening to him.
it was a full house.
It was a full house. They didn't know
Actually,
what to do, did
that's
they?
interesting because when Albanese addressed them, the place was almost empty. He was talking to an empty room.
Well, he was trying to convince everyone of the importance of Australia on the global stage, and no one came to listen.
There he was trying to kick goals and didn't even get a point.
Oh, God.
HG will probably have
But-
something
but-
to say about that.
But to all the detractors, the Trump detractors, I asked the question: what did Trump say that was wrong to the assembled multitudes at the UN? He actually made a great deal of sense, and he told them the truth about their immigration policies. He told them the truth about their renewables policy, and he gave it to them right between the eyes, and they deserved it.
And he said that green energy was nonsense. I agree with that too. The United Nations, he didn't leave them out of the equation. He said that they were an embarrassment, irrelevant, and he's perfectly right there too.
Everyone got a Guernsey.
Well, he even had a shot at NATO as well for supporting Putin in his war efforts because they keep buying his gas and oil.
Yes.
Mind you, India and China won't stop. There's a pipeline that goes direct into China.
I mean,
of oil.
in reality, gentlemen, if
stop
we look
buying.
back in history of the UN, how many world conflicts have they actually stepped into and stopped?
No, since 1945, when they were set up to replace the League of Nations, the United Nations has done bugger all.
Yes. And Trump was right when he
Well,
said...
not quite bugger all. They're not bad with it. Their Christmas card is pretty
Trump
good.
made the comment that he's actually
Lovely blue hats.
participated in stopping 7 world conflicts, and the UN never came to say thank you or even offer any assistance.
But they have lost the plot as to what they're there for. They think they are there to have cocktail parties and, address them.
Well, they want to create the state of Palestine, but there's no rules and regulations about how that's going to work.
Yeah.
And how would it work?
Yeah, I know. Here's the telephone number. We'll just dial up HG in a second. 0491 65 68 60 if you'd like to give us a ring here on jeremycordeaux.com. H.G. Nelson will be with us in just a moment. Stay with us.
I knew the bride when she used to
Strange song, that. Yeah, I don't
Call has
understand.
been forwarded to voicemail.
Oh,
The person you're trying to reach is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up.
All right. HG, are you there? Pick up the telephone. I thought he picked it up in the first place when we dialed it up a second ago. I don't understand that at all, but we shall simply bypass it, I guess. Okay, try him again. Does anyone remember September the 26th for any particular reason? I don't know. What does that say?
Oh, that's your name.
Oh, okay. You dialed us up, HG.
Yes.
God bless you.
That's all right. What was happening was I was getting some odd phone calls, and I thought, maybe they're trying to get through, and they can't for whatever reason, so I thought I'd give it a burl from this end.
Don't tell me you get odd phone calls.
I do. I try to do the best to, filter them out, but of course they keep getting through. The digital net.
It's great to talk to you again. We used to talk quite often back in the 5DN days, and I think probably...
The 5DN and the temperature under the old olive tree. I'm glad they got an early Guernsey.
Do you know some idiot cut that olive tree down? That was back in the day, of course. They built a car park where the old olive tree was. They'll never be able to get away with that these days.
No, true. Well observed. And what do they do about temperature? Temperature from under the bonnet, is it, of a Ford Falcon or something like that?
No romance. Nah.
No romance.
No history. No culture. No.
10th Street, wasn't it? Was it 10th Street, North Adelaide?
Absolutely, 10th Street, North Adelaide. And when you first see the name, of course, you think it's Tynt Street. And like Theberton, if you aren't familiar with it, is
I know.
the Barton.
The Barton Oval. Yeah, sure. The oldies but the goodies.
You can pick the newcomers.
Yeah.
Anyway, how have you been?
Well, surprisingly good. We've obviously done another year on the bludge, and that's been more. This time last year we were knee deep in the Paris Olympics, and this year we seem to be in some sort of celebration of the Olympics in Sydney 25 years ago. So they're two bookends of the year. And I've sort of remember, of course, the great thing for us is we actually don't write much of the program. The World of Sport writes the program.
Huh. Well, you're the genius behind it, though.
Well, we try and sort of funnel it, I think. We try and pick the things that are humorous in it and leave the chaff to the advertiser.
What's that wonderful line of yours? When too much sport is not nearly enough.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. Well, that stands you in good stead. Today we're recording this on the eve of the AFL Grand Final, and then next week the NRL Grand Final. And so, again, two pillars of the community in this week where all eyes are on footy.
That's a lot of testosterone, a lot of liniment, whatever they rub themselves down with. Vicks Vapor Rub. I can't think.
Well, Vicks, there's a new one. They're sniffing that at half time, I'm pretty sure, to clear the nasal passages.
Yeah. Hang on a sec. Wait till I turn you on. I got Gary here. And you know Gary.
Good morning, Gary.
Morning, Gary.
Morning, Gary.
Yeah. Hi, team.
He's talking to himself.
It's just an echo.
And Les Ellicott is here as well. This is what it's come to. HG, we're around the dining room table. You're talking about 5DN. 5DN was the first radio station in Australia, and it started around the dining room table of Jack and Stella Hume on Green Hill Road at Parkside. That was 102 years ago. And now, 102 years on, we have a radio station that, goes more than 5 or 6 streets, and we broadcast to the world from around the dining room table.
Yeah, it's Tim Tams and red wine.
Well, that's true. Well, it's a bit early for the red wine, but I...
Now, are we going to
Tim
reinvent
Tams.
Humphrey B. Bear in this new paradigm?
Yes, and put pants on him.
Ah, yeah, true. Now, he was, I connect him with 10th Street as well. Was there a Channel 9 studio?
Yeah, there was, right opposite.
Yep.
Across
the road.
Humphrey B. Bear was sort of, I was going to use the word born, isn't quite the right word, was created there.
Hatched.
Oh, he's back again.
Somebody bought the rights and the costume, I think.
It's good we got a born-again bear.
A born-again bear. Well, that's very timely.
Yeah, he's back. Same uniform.
HG, I was looking at the date, the 26th of September, and I see that back in 83, it's the anniversary of Australia winning the America's Cup. Were you there?
Well, in spirit, I was there. Yachting. No, I can't say I was there, but I remember it fondly, of course. I mean, I think that was the great thing that the Prime Minister of the day, Bob Hawke, said, anybody who gets fired today by a boss that boss is a bum.
Yes,
I thought that was pretty, that was a canny
take the day off
reading of the room. Yeah, take a day off.
Yeah.
And of course, the great thing about that, I think, was unlike any other America's Cup, they literally did come from behind. I mean, being 4-1 down or something like that to take the cup, 5-4 was a tremendous feat of concentration.
Where did you and the sport thing come from? Have you always been really deep into sport?
Well, no, not really. The thing is that this is a bit. I always sort of thought there was a way of attacking sport where you could avoid all the pitfalls that people who do it for a job fell into. And that's largely where it comes from. And I think it's fair to say is that the thing that got me going on it was sport is just entertainment. Now, this is a long time ago, and I'm not sure what exactly gave me that idea, but I could see what would be happening now in it. Don't want to be big-headed here. In the future, that would become more and more a central part of entertainment and not sport.
Well, you look at it as kind of wall to wall. The AFLW is in there. I don't know how successful that is, but they sure have an interest in talking it up.
Well, the AFLW is an opportunity to bet. I mean, let's get serious here. It's all about making money.
Yeah.
None of it has any particular, no one really particularly remembers anything about a lot of matches unless you played in them, and then you've got a chance to remember them. The rest of us just moves on at an electrifying pace.
Yeah.
I tell you, by Monday, it'll be really hard to find Australians except who live near the winning team to remember who won because they're focusing on the next possible betting opportunity, effectively.
Yeah, well, the dog barks and the caravan moves on.
It does. Or, if you go to the mill, don't get flour on your hands.
Yes. Yeah.
HG, were you at the football Logies the other night, the Brownlow?
Yeah, but look, I only go for the controversy, really, and that's the thing that I remember. Wasn't it great the umpires appear to have got it right and wrong at the same time? Right, that everybody thinks Rao's the best player. Yeah, that's true. I accept that. But on an event where the ball isn't bounced, to get it right and wrong where there's no footy inside, I find that ingenious of the whole thing. Really.
What's the main event? Is it the red carpet with all the wags and things popping out the top and the bottom? Bailey looking like Troy Donahue.
Yeah, look, I don't want to talk down Australian fashion because it's the best in the world.
Indeed.
You have to go to other places. I mean, have you seen the Met Gala these days? It's just it's drivel. That's what I've described it as in media commitments, drivel at the Met Gala. The great fashion events of Australia and the world are the Logies and the Brownlow.
Indeed.
I won't hear a word against them.
And
I love it all. It's just a passing parade. Who wore the best frock? I haven't got a clue.
And didn't we invent the thong?
The thong, I think you mean at the foot and at the buttock. Yes, I think we did.
Well, all the above.
No, we're first with a lot of things. Come on.
Australia has many beautiful women.
Yeah. It's funny, when you think that the AFL is a charity, pays no tax, writes...
it's a religion.
Contracts for billions of dollars for television rights and stuff, and straight-faced they say, we're a charity. Sorry.
Hey, HG, the paramount question for tomorrow must be, and you might agree or disagree with me on this one, but my view is the paramount question has to be, will Snoop Dogg eclipse the performance of Meatloaf tomorrow?
Well, we could spend an hour and a half on that alone.
Are you a Snoop Dogg fan or a Meatloaf fan? And why would you really want to have in a sporting spectacle entertainment at half time? What's the point? The whole thing's entertainment, isn't it, HG?
We've lost him.
We've lost him.
Has he dropped out?
Oh, I think he has.
The questions must have been too severe.
It must have been something you said.
He's still on the line.
HG, are you there? Hello?
Oh, dear.
Oh.
Maybe he's got a flat battery.
Oh, look, he could, yeah. Yeah, I suppose, you know.
Optus, we'll blame Optus.
Where's the CEO?
Okay, we'll try. See, I always explain to my guests that we don't have a switchboard.
Yeah.
Afternoon.
HG, you disappeared.
Have I lost you for a minute or two there?
Yeah, you did. We had to ring you back.
We went through a tunnel.
Yeah.
We've only
Don't
got
tell
one
me
in
that.
It's a
Adelaide.
modern world.
It is. Now, when you left Adelaide, do you miss Adelaide? It's the village atmosphere, the village idiots. I mean, you must miss us.
Well, I do get nostalgic for, bits that have probably disappeared.
Yeah.
I suppose that's right. For instance, I used to, obviously I started in Nuriutpa, but, coming to the Adelaide High in later years, sort of all that sort of stuff, catching the bus. I think it was the number 5 bus I caught. Now, of course, it's a completely different number. It might be 22 that I used to catch. That may be entirely wrong. For God's sake, don't take that as gospel. Anyway, that sort of stuff, very familiar things like that. I'm a great fan of Golden North ice cream.
Yes.
The Amscol Eskimo pie, I'm not sure if they still make that. That's a great confection.
No longer.
Swimming off the Brighton jetty, for instance, I miss that.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to do that now. I think they obviously insurance wouldn't allow them to do that.
No.
But when I was young, you could jump off the jetty. Fishing off the jetty, of course, I love that. Things like that. They're the things that you miss.
Did you ever go
riding bikes in the suburb?
Did you ever go in the Birdman Rally?
No. That may have happened when I was there, but it didn't talk to me, I'm afraid.
The Princeton Club with Bob Francis.
Oh, no,
You remember that?
I think he's too young to remember that.
No.
Well, what I remember about Bob was, firstly, he wanted public hangings at the Adelaide Oval, which I thought was a great idea.
Great idea.
And then that
Pull the
would
crowds,
really
wouldn't it?
pull a crowd. And the other thing was the big guy 10 floors high. And I'm thinking, now, are there 10 floors in the old advertiser building? They're the things that cross your mind.
Yeah, there are.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I know. I spent a bit of time up there. But nothing remains the same. Of all of the sports, and the reason I'm about to mention cricket is that Ian Chappell, Australian cricket batsman and captain, 75 tests, broadcaster at the Nine Network, born in Adelaide on this day in 1943.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because he's a great, great cricketer.
Yeah.
And, that was when Australia, was able to dominate with confidence in cricket. Now it's a bit sort of, there's so many matches. I mean, which one do you actually follow? As in, the passing parade has BBL and Ashes and State. I mean, I feel sorry for the Sheffield Shield players. I mean, it was great. Adelaide won the Sheffield Shield last year.
Yeah.
I think that was a terrific triumph of South Australian cricket. And South Australian cricket produced a lot of forgotten players, but, the great thing to get the Sheffield Shield, and I think the Sheffield Shield should be promoted. I'm not quite sure how. I mean, I'd love to think it could be bolted onto the front of a train that, say, went, say from Adelaide to Port Augusta just to get kids interested in it along the way.
Didn't they cancel the Sheffield Shield and turn it into a milk company bought the rights, and it was called something else for a while. I mean, it's all about. You've got
a mic.
It's all about money.
Forensic memory for these things.
Perfectly right, HG. It's all about money. Do you remember Frank Pangallo?
Yes, but why you're going to have to help me here? Why would I remember him?
Frank just walked in. Frank is now.
Oh, good. Oh, well, welcome to the table.
Frank is now a member of Parliament. The Honourable Frank Pangallo, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, that's great. And, if only we had television, oh, well, sky's the limit, really.
Well, I don't know what the limit. I suppose the limit to this table is about 8 chairs. So we have only just begun to fight.
I'm just thinking the last time I was with HG, you probably wouldn't remember this, was 25 years ago, right?
Yeah.
At the Sydney Olympics.
Sydney Olympics, yeah.
When HG and Roy had the cult program of the Olympic Games in Australia at the time.
It was
with
the cult of the flat bag.
and the wombat. What was his name? HG, the
Fatso the wombat. Fatso the wombat.
Fatso. What's happened to him?
Well, he
battered
what a
Sav.
great story and a great question. Look, Fatso, well, he got big-headed after a while, all that exposure during the Sydney Olympics, and they put him on a plinth out in the Homebush in the precinct where the games were played outside the big arena, and it was a fiberglass version, which was a mistake in the first place. And so what would happen every so often, the fiberglass, people late at night, nothing to do, let's go and saw down Fatso. So they'd go in with their ankle grinders and cut Fatso off at the ankles and take him. And the last time this happened, he ended up in the front yard, this is hard to imagine, but this is true, of a rugby league commentator who got in touch with us and said, my son found Fatso in the front yard. What do you want to do about it? And Roy had the wit to suggest they take it to the police.
Now,
what's become of Fatso? I mean, Fatso is almost part of Australian culture now.
Well, where is rampaging Roy Slavin? I haven't seen him for ages.
No, well, he's still batting away he'd be part of a festival of flathead this weekend. Obviously he's got football and then he chases the flathead.
Gone fishing.
It's a passion for seafood.
There's a sign above the door. Gone
Well, you
fishing.
can't catch him here, mate, because of the algal bloom.
Yes.
I know, yeah, but he's got other bits of Australia to go to fish out. His dream, of course, was to make Spencer Gulf a fish-free zone. And it looks like somebody's beaten him to it.
What's your tip for tomorrow?
Well, yeah, what a good question. Look, I just think the Geelong Cats are going to win. I'd like to look. Can I just say that the AFL's really appears to only have 3 teams in it at the moment, and they just all rotate around on Grand Final day. But I think the Geelong Cats are too strong.
Yep. Well, what are you going to do in the off season?
Well, we keep going for a while. We keep going up to Cox Plate Day.
Yeah.
They did last Saturday in, let's see, that'll be October.
Yep.
And then we have a bit of a break. And for my sins, I'm doing a book tour with Ben Elton, of all people, for
he's great.
For a week. That'll keep me going for a while. And coming to Adelaide, I think, as part of that. I wish I could tell you the date. In the first week, round about Cup time, we'll be in Adelaide. To do a night.
You should both drop in for a Lamington.
You should. We've got
a Lamington, yeah.
We're down to 3 Lamingtons this morning, but there's more inside.
Yeah, we'll
right. And do you get your Lamingtons from Perryman's Bakery up the road there in Tint Street?
I'm not sure. Caroline, where did the Lamingtons come from?
Balfours.
Balfours.
Yes.
We might get some frog cakes for you as well.
Anyway, it's great to talk to you, HG. You're a legend and a fantastic Australian. Most importantly, a fantastic South Australian.
Yes, and it's great to be in the court of public opinion with you, Jeremy, and the table of knowledge there. Look, I'll remember this. I'll remember this until the Rugby League Grand Final.
Which is only a week. You'll be right.
Right.
I'll see you later.
Cheers. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thanks
Regards to the team.
Okay, thanks for coming on the show.
Bye now.
See ya.
Singing the blues.
You can ring us if you would like to. Telephone number 0491 65 68 60. And the Honourable Frank Pangallo is still with us, and so's Tony, and so's Gary, and so's Les. We were talking about the algal bloom.
Right.
Do you still reckon it's the desal plant?
Jeremy, I've never said it's the desal plant. Yeah. So these are the lies that Labor just keep putting out to try and discredit me.
Well, you're worrying them.
You got them running.
All I've said, and you can see if people read the Hansard, is there's a lot of speculation out there that it could be the cause. I don't know, and I don't believe it is the cause. However, when you read scientific papers around the world, it shows that desalination plants can create algal blooms, and at the same time, algal blooms can damage desalination plants.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And I've just been asking questions to the minister and the department, saying to them, well, look, do you think it's worth investigating?
Did you hit
links?
Did you hit a nerve?
Well, they won't. I have hit a nerve. And interestingly enough, I had two interesting old fellas came in and saw me the other day. These are old guys that are master plumbers. One ran his own business called Storm Plastics, Marty Bennett. He was a sailor. He's in his early 80s. He was with the Royal Yacht Squadron and a prolific diver in the Gulf for years, and a fisherman. He knows the Gulf like the back of your hand. And he's been following everything that's been going on and also trying to find data about the desalination plant. He told me that, every time he used to go out diving, fishing and whatever, the waters were murky and there's a lot of stuff that had been dumped into our Gulf. Our Gulf has become a sewer, right? And
Why? How did it happen? Who allowed it to happen?
The government. They've allowed it to happen over the years.
Well, they're responsible. I guess they've got to wear it.
Absolutely they are. So my line of questioning to PIRSA was, well, here are some scientific studies that I've had a look at, and this is what they're saying. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to investigate it? Well, they just keep pushing it aside. And then, of course, I made that blunder, and it was a pretty trivial one, when I tried to get links for them for these papers. And unfortunately, I relied on ChatGPT, and there's a lesson there.
That was an error.
Well, there's a lesson for everybody.
Error.
I'm going to talk to you. I'll mention this big error about ChatGPT that was made known to me yesterday. But anyway, I just had these links, and I thought, look, we'll send it to them. And the links didn't open. So then suddenly it was a conspiracy by me to feed phony, fake papers that didn't exist, right? And this is what Tom Concertonis put out there. He threw everything at me, right?
Taxi Tom.
Turbo Tom.
Oh, Turbo Tom.
Well, and there's Tom, demanding that I apologise. And if you have a look at his own record in Parliament when he was a minister, there was the speeding fines. He abused...
Colourful.
Well, he abused one of the senior executives in his department and had to apologise for that. I mean, Tom is hardly a saint.
Just somebody put out a list. It was 2 pages long.
Absolutely. But, he's their attack dog. But anyway, Jeremy, I sent the papers in to PIRSA this week, as I told them that I would. Yeah. And if you have a look at these papers, they actually are very relevant to what's happening in our state, okay? Yeah. I've never said the desalination plant is the cause or whatever. All I've said is...
Check it out.
Could it be a contributing factor? Check it out. But they're trying to turn it, and the Premier himself, trying to turn it into a conspiracy theory that I'm pumping. You know what, Premier? You read the papers. Yeah. You read the Hansard of what I said. Yes. He doesn't. He just relies on his spin doctors and whatever. But, Jeremy, you read these papers. Anyway, I want to go back to those two old fellas, right? Yeah. Now, these guys have been studying the desalination plant and what it's been pumping out. And, since its inception, I think in 2010, it's produced 240 billion litres of 240 billion megalitres, I think it is.
This is a concentrated saline.
That's right. 60% heavier than water, than salt water, and it sinks to the bottom. And that's the equivalent of 234 million tonnes of brine, the heavy stuff. Yeah. When you read these scientific papers...
Salt.
Well, it's not just salt, Jeremy, right? When you read these scientific papers where they've done studies on desals in Saudi Arabia, the Red Sea, Southern California, the Gulf of... in Spain and around there, the stuff that desal plants actually pump out is not just salty water, 60%. It contains heavy metals and other nutrients in there. And they're just there in the Gulf. Now, interestingly enough, around the time that the bloom started, these fellas showed me the data for what was being produced at the desalination plant. And in March, when it started, I think the figure was probably around 6 or 7. I haven't got the figures with me, but it was about 7.4 megalitres, right, that was produced that month. Now, 1 megalitre, or 1 megalitre, I think it is a million litres of water, right? So that gives you an indication of just the extent of the production there. And then it went 7, I think 5, 6 or whatever, until it stopped in June and July. 0. They turned it off. Why did they turn it off? You know, we did have some rain, but I don't think it was enough to turn it off. It's only just been restarted, and I think last month in August it produced 71 megalitres of water. But why did they turn it off in June and July, which I want to know? That's a question.
Well, there must be an answer to that question.
Well, maintenance. And what was the maintenance? Was it biofouling of the membranes, as what can happen when you read these papers? The desal plants suck the water out from the Gulf, you know, to produce the potable water, and of course with it comes all the toxins and everything else, and that can foul the membranes and whatever, and that stuff can actually then be pumped into our water system.
So we're getting a concentration of this stuff in our water system.
Well, we possibly are. But that needs to be explored. Yeah. The other thing that the government hasn't done about this, Jeremy, when you read their own report, it was it was one of those that I referred to in the Parliament by one of their own experts, or that they commissioned a guy called Paul Van Ruth in 2010 and again in 2012. Even in that report to Adelaide Aqua and Sardi, Van Ruth says there is a potential for desalination plants to cause algal blooms, right? We don't know the extent of it, but anyway, it's raised in their own paper. Yeah. And then Van Ruth says constant monitoring is required around the desalination plant. Well, we don't know what the constant monitoring was. We don't see any data. SA Water was supposed to do that data. Overseas, in other places, the Red Sea and University in Southern California, they do constant monitoring of their waters. When the committee when I was questioning PIRSA, I asked them, about this data. Have you got any? And they admitted that there'd been no monitoring between 2012 and 2019 for some reason. Okay, why? So what's happened here is I think they've just had their eye off the ball and they haven't really been monitoring. Our Gulf is sick. Both of them probably, but certainly St Vincent's Gulf.
Irreparably? Can it be fixed?
I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but it needs to be fixed.
Well,
it needs to be brought back to health.
And look, can I add some comments here for the edification of our listeners? Most of these desal plants work on the system called electrolysis, essentially. So basically salt water is sodium chloride. So sodium and chlorine, that's salt. So the process separates the ions, and the heavy metal is the sodium. Chlorine can be gaseous or ionic, often goes into the atmosphere. Same sort of principle as saltwater swimming pools. The electrolysis breaks the chlorine and the salt apart. The chlorine then sanitises the water. These processes can, in a chemistry form, affect the rate of chemical reactions. So if you change the balance of the salt water and you've got protein or organic matter or other materials that have come through the river system into the ocean, the chemical rate of reaction can be altered dramatically by the presence of what potentially the desal plant is outputting. Now, people generally out there won't understand chemical rates of reaction because that's a foreign topic to them. But chemical rates of reaction can be either accentuated to make them go quicker or slower. But essentially all these organic things and proteins that are in the water now are multiplying because the bacteria multiplies very, very quickly, and the problem gets out of control very quickly. It's like the toxal algal bloom that was in the Torrens some years back, and that was during summer when the weather was hot. This phenomena has happened during cool months, and that's hence why they're blaming potentially...
Well, no, it started... I think the first reports were... There was some sporadic reports in January and then March, and it was quite warm at that time. I just think it was like the perfect storm, right? There was a combination of factors. Yeah. I'm not saying necessarily it's desal. I'm just saying a combination of factors. Might have been the River Murray.
But worth checking.
You got to investigate it, Jeremy.
On the subject of investigation, the ABC Drive program during the week dropped the news that Flinders University is going through a restructure process, and 6 internationally acclaimed professors who are specialising in marine work, who are currently working on the algal bloom problem here in South Australia, look like the heads on the chopping block.
Yeah, one of them.
Now, why would you think even the government would even allow that when people are working on this problem to have them dismissed?
That makes no sense.
So what are they perhaps hiding, Frank?
Well, who knows? Because you had the Minister Scriven saying, we have more than 80 acclaimed scientists from around Australia and the world working on this. We've actually asked for their names, but she hasn't, they haven't been forthcoming, working on this. Now, that academic from Flinders, Joachim Kemp, I think his name is, he's dismissed what the government have been saying, that it was a combination of the River Murray nutrients, the upswelling, and I think the heat, the drought and whatever. He's saying, well, no, it's more than that. But this is why Vincent Tasia called for a Royal Commission, Jeremy, right?
Yeah.
A Royal Commission will be independent and it will call evidence from all areas, including science.
You don't get much change out of $100 million for a Royal Commission.
Bad luck. This is the livelihood of the many businesses that rely on our coast. This is an important part of South Australia.
Yep.
Now, you tell me something, Jeremy. Are you going to go swimming this summer in our Gulf?
No, I won't do that.
Who will be? Right? People are going to be afraid to go swimming. We haven't even seen the government give us their summer plan.
They're working on wetsuits that are shark-proof. I saw that the other night. Now, I think that place there, that place there is for fish, big ones, small ones, hungry ones. Don't go into their territory. It's asking for trouble.
Well, you may have noticed last year the extraordinary number of shark sightings. Right, that we had in South Australia, which we've been around a long time, and I always used to hear, there's another 2 sharks, 3 sharks everywhere, and I asked a scientist last week. I said, well, why would we have had so many shark sightings? He said, because of the dead fish, right, that were on the bottom or whatever. So and they were able to come in and and feed off the thing. But anyway,
are they able to determine whether this algal bloom thing is the cause of these fish dying? Is it poisonous? And
yes, it is. Oh, yeah.
What is the poison? What is the poison that it carries?
Well, it's a neuro.
It's toxic.
It's a toxic. It is. It's a neuro toxin.
But if you're
a brevitoxin and all this, Jeremy, I know you love reading.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know how you go with scientific papers, but I'm going to send you the links. Actually, they're not very lengthy, but I want you to read them. I'll send the ones I sent you.
Okay.
And that gives you a totally different perspective of what we are confronting here, because the experience in other parts of the world, and they call them red tides overseas, right? The experience over there is they don't go away. They keep coming back because the organisms are always there in the water. Now, this is all, and it's mismanagement by the government by not keeping an eye on this. Yeah. It's also the fact that over the years our gulfs have been sewers, right? You've had the Murray going in there. Okay, the Murray's always been going in there. I mean, this is the first time we've had this massive algal bloom. The Murray's always been, emptying out there. But you've got wastewater, stormwater. Yeah. There's wastewater, and I forgot about the one at Christie's Beach. There's a wastewater plant there. Yeah. And, treated stuff is also being pumped into the Gulf.
The sewage,
yeah. You've got stormwater. You've got Bolivar.
Yeah.
They also dump dredge spoil somewhere in the Gulf everywhere, right? And this is the stuff they dredge out of the Port River, which would have contaminants and nutrients and everything else.
Everything is cause and effect.
Well, Jeremy, it's
consequences.
We've turned our Gulfs into a sewer, and I think it's time we brought them back to full health.
Even if you're a scientist, you've got to be really careful not to go against the
government,
the rhetoric. And I'll tell you why.
Go on.
A little later on in the morning, I found him. He used to be a professor of marine biology at the James Cook University in North Queensland. A marine biologist whose specialty was the Great Barrier Reef. And he had the temerity to say publicly, when the subject came up, because there are people who want to sort of tie all of that into climate change, and that's a religion. And he had the temerity and a man of science and the credibility to say, it's perfectly fine. It's in great health. So James Cook University sacked him.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
There's another one, and I'll give you his name. All right, Professor Matty Landos.
Oh, I know that name. Yeah.
And look, he is an expert. He's a marine scientist, and he works very closely with businesses in aquaculture. He knows our Gulfs like you wouldn't believe, right? Yeah. And he's got his theories. It's worth having him on. He's from Queensland, right? And again, the government don't like hearing alternative views. No. For them, it's just, three causes, climate change.
And they're going to bring in the misinformation and disinformation law that'll stop people saying
about climate change,
what they don't want to hear. Isn't that wonderful?
Look, Jeremy, if that happens, we might as well just pack up and leave this country.
Well,
because we're heading towards authoritarianism.
Yes.
We're becoming a socialist state. They are telling us what to do
and what to think,
controlling us and what to think.
Yeah.
That is an egregious breach of freedom of speech.
Yes.
Seriously, if they're going to do that. But then you got the Human Rights Commission. I mean, really?
These are the people behind it.
Yeah.
They're going to be pushing it.
And they're all these lefties and whatever. If that succeeds, Jeremy, as I said, well, you might as well just pack up and go.
What are you tapping? Caroline comes in, pokes me.
And look, the reality...
Caroline wants me to bring up another subject. You're tired of algal blooms, are you?
Are you?
We're just getting started.
Like you don't say anything that the government doesn't agree with. You must not do anything that the producer doesn't agree with, or she'll come and poke you.
Well, I know that we've been talking about it, but this is a new phenomena, as the Premier likes to call it.
Yes.
But it isn't going to go away, and it's going to impact on our lives. It's going to impact on the lives of people that live in our coastal communities.
Yep.
It's impacting on businesses already. I just was told today of another cafe in one of the coastal towns that is closing. Another tackle shop is closing.
Yep.
People are going broke. They're not getting the compensation that they should be getting, or any support from government and whatever. This thing is actually quite serious.
One of the biggest aspects that hasn't been factored into this, Frank, is the future cost. And the future cost being the lack of marine life that people might fish for or sell, oyster production, you name it. The whole aquaculture industry is in jeopardy.
Well, I was told there was only one boat that went out at one of the ramps yesterday and didn't catch anything. Even the boats aren't going out. And that has the ripple effect, Jeremy.
You remember, you mentioned the Red Sea. There is such a thing as the Dead Sea. And the Dead Sea is the Dead Sea because it is very salty. So salty, in fact, that you can almost walk, or certainly float.
Did Jesus walk the Dead Sea?
Well, yes. Well,
that's how he did it.
I don't know, but it's a thought. No. Caroline brings this to my attention with another poke. The South Australian opposition has promised to introduce 50-cent fares on all metropolitan public transport if elected next year.
Yeah, right.
Why not make it free?
Well, you can't make it free. I mean, the government has to absorb some of these costs.
But, somebody told me once.
The Greens want it free.
Somebody told me once that it costs more to collect and handle the fee, the fare, than it does in terms of return on it.
Well, somebody the other day said to me, he said, I don't even know why they even bother having fares because there are so many fare evaders on our public transport. And when they see somebody, when the inspector comes on, he usually gets on at the front and they get off at the next stop at the back.
Well, in Melbourne, they've got this thing called Mikey. And you've got to go and tap the Mikey, and that pays your fare.
Why are they calling it Mikey?
Well,
why don't they call it Joseph?
I think it's because it's an acronym for something. I don't know what it is.
Well, what about Joseph or
Well, they may as well.
Mikhail.
They may as well just remove
Vladimir,
it.
Vlad Well, 50 cents is a really good, fallback for a fare, right?
Yeah, and it works. It's been done in Queensland.
It is working, and it's a great policy because it benefits every South Australian. But every South Australian will benefit from it.
Yeah, but I think the main benefit is getting more cars off the road if you can do that. That's really the side effect.
Absolutely. But it's also in a cost of living crisis. Yeah. Like a ticket today will cost you $4.50 and it's limited for a couple of hours, I think it is, or whatever. But 50 cents is fantastic. I'm sure in my retirement I'm going to jump on a bus. Well, I'll be free anyway because of our age, Jeremy.
That's right. I've got a senior's card somewhere, and you can travel for nothing.
You got one as well,
and it's good for tourism as well.
It is. It's look.
You have a chauffeured car. You don't need to worry about that sort of thing.
I don't have a chauffeured car. I'm not a.
Why not?
I'm not a shadow. I'm not an opposition leader.
Not a minister yet.
Oh,
well, you've got plenty in your garage. You can lend me one.
Jeremy will drive you around in one of his.
Yeah.
Which one do you want? The Rolls?
Yes, dear. What are you trying to tell me? You ride for nothing with your senior's card. I said it.
I'm sorry.
She's in delay.
Well, you're a senior now.
Does that mean you're retarded? I think so. Can you stay with us, Frank?
I can, Jeremy.
Okay,
I can have a Lamington during the break.
Have a Lamington. Frank Pangallo, Member of Parliament, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Ian Plimer with us after the news. Well, we're not going to have news. We'll skip the news because the whole program is news. What we'll do is give you the weather forecast. That's what we'll do. And we'll give you the pip at 10 o'clock.
You're listening to the Court of Public Opinion with Jeremy Cordeaux, where the time is 10 a.m. Australian Central Standard Time.
Hey! What's the weather for the weekend gonna be? Will it be hot, cold, rain, snow?
And the weather today in Adelaide, it will be a partly cloudy day.
You may not find us on your TV, because in case you did not know, we're being brought to you by, brought to you on, brought to you by RADIO. Good morning.
Brought to you on RADIO and in his car, travelling I'm not exactly sure where, Professor Ian Plimer. How are you, sir?
I'm very, very well, thank you. I'm up at Tarlee, going northeast, and you're at the dining room table.
Yes, Frank Pangallo is here, Gary's here, Les is here.
Well, for the radio audience, let me just tell you, the dining room table is a slab of plywood with a couple of trestles underneath it. There's one leg that's a bit short. There's half a brick under it. So don't be fooled.
No.
Lamington's in the middle.
Dining room with And Lamington.
It's a Lamington showroom.
It's what we call theatre of the mind, Professor.
Theatre of the stomach, actually.
Certainly is.
What did you think, by the way, of Twiggy Forrest getting all upset at Trump's address to the United Nations Assembly? Twiggy is keen to get the American president to Australia to show him climate change in action on the Great Barrier Reef. Did you hear this?
Well, firstly, Twiggy's got a lot of self-interest in this.
Yeah.
Secondly, I know those who advise President Trump, one of them especially Will Happer, and I know the advice they've been giving him. And thirdly, I think Mr. Trump would enjoy a trip to the Great Barrier Reef, and he would see that over the last 3 million years it's come and gone 32 times. Every time it dies off, sea level has dropped. He would enjoy seeing a dynamic reef where the coral is attacked occasionally, and the biggest damage to the coral is from cyclones. He would enjoy the fact that in the 1840s, Charles Darwin was fascinated with coral reefs and wrote about them in a book in 1842, showing that if sea level rises or if temperature goes up, then the coral reef expands. Mr. Trump is very well advised. Twiggy is not. He's only interested in self-interest. Trump is interested in his nation. So I would welcome Trump going to the Great Barrier Reef. It would be good if I could accompany him. I could perhaps give him the view that is established in the scientific literature and been there for more than 150 years.
Take him scuba diving, Ian. That would be a sight, wouldn't it?
Which one? Which one? Because fiddling with the tanks has a great attraction.
You have people lining up for that.
Marine biologist Professor Peter Ridd is going to join us later on about 11 o'clock, and he says there's nothing wrong with the reef.
No, Peter's a great man. He spent most of his working life actually as a geophysicist working on the reef. His concerns are the corruption of science and corruption of the scientific method, and that how the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park Authority has to stay alive by frightening us witless. He's looked at their own data to show that the reef is very healthy, that it's got bigger year after year for the last 10 years or so, and that his studies on the back reef areas, his studies on sedimentation coming from the cane fields and the pastoral areas shows that there's no pollutants coming in from agricultural chemicals. The biggest damage, again, is cyclones, and the biggest sedimentation is reworking of broken. Peter works on data. He is trained as a physicist. He only works on data. He doesn't work on emotion, and he's a very good guest to have.
Yeah, but he got sacked for saying something that the other academics, the other professors, didn't agree with. He rocked the boat.
Well, he was the second one at James Cook University who got sacked. Professor Bob Carter was moved on after he retired. He had an emeritus status at the university, had some facilities there. Bob was actually Peter's supervisor for his PhD, and Bob got moved on. And then Peter Ridd interfered with the cash flow. And the cash flow was that if the Great Barrier Reef research done by James Cook University frightens people witless, then the federal government will pay up our taxes to assuage these fears, and just by paying more tax you can solve a problem of nature. Yeah. And Peter pointed out that this was money poorly spent. Of course, that affected the university's cash flow. The reef wasn't in danger, and this was too much. Universities were once places of scholarship. They are now places of political ideology, and Peter suffered from that.
So if there's a horse racing at Randwick in the 7th called Self-Interest, you can put the farm on him.
My word, and a bit more.
Ian, I want to take you to New York this week. where we had the UN General Assembly. It was almost like the Woodstock of climate, activists and whatever this week. And the showboater, Chris Bowen, and his extraordinary speech, which I think most of us here sort of our jaws dropped at some of his predictions, particularly with what's going to happen by the end of the year about the use of fossil fuels. What did you make of Chris Bowen's performance at the UN General Assembly, and where is it going to take us?
It was cringingly embarrassing that on the national stage we have a man stand up in front of the UN and give an address like that, an address riddled with errors of fact, an address where he was stupid enough to be able to say that within the next few months we are going to have a ruinable energy to overtake coal and gas and oil. Now, for the last 100 years, we've had the BP research, and we've had the Institute of Energy, the Global Institute, tell us how much fuel we've used, and we have had a very slight increase in the amount of wind and solar that we've been using over the last 120 years, but we've had a massive increase in coal and a massive increase in oil and a massive increase in gas and a modest increase in nuclear. So what Mr. Bowen is saying is that he and he alone will change a global trend, a trend that's been there for 120 years, a trend where we're increasing the amount of fossil fuels we use. Now, he has to, in that time, persuade China not to build a coal-fired power station every 4 days. He has to persuade the Western world not to take gas from Australia, not to take Russian gas, which is a good idea, take Australian gas, not to take the extremely high-quality coking coals that we produce from Queensland that go in to make steel. And we have about 1 billion tonnes a year of steel that's made in China. So he's got a fairly big job on his hands. And we have to keep his nose to the grindstone on this, because at the end of the year we have to remind him of it, just the same as punters out there should be reminded all the time of that $275 that they're going to get back. Now,
well, it's now
it's very
1,000, isn't it? We're told it's going to go down 1,000.
Well, this $275 is a wonderful gesture to make, because we're also told last week that we're all going to fry and die. So that means that we're not going to get the money. It won't be necessary. We'll be dead.
One of the
so he was an embarrassment. He was an embarrassment, as was our Prime Minister, giving a boringly bland talk. He
riddled with errors. Riddled with errors.
Riddled with errors
about the two states. Palestine and Israel.
The only people who were listening to that talk in the room were despots from communist and black African countries. Everyone had left.
Yeah.
But what he didn't realise that the green rock in the background could have told him a story. And that green rock is called serpentinite. And that green rock has got a very large amount of carbon dioxide in that solid rock. And that green rock forms by reaction of water with rocks that form deep down. And that reaction stops the oceans getting acid. So standing behind him with the examples that nature tells us that what he's talking is absolutely unmitigated codswaller. He was just talking waffle. It was woke. It was weird. And he should have had more in the audience, because it was some of the best entertainment we've seen for a long while.
and false. His narrative about
of course it was.
What the United Nations did to create the Israeli state, the state of Israel, back in 1947 or 49 or whatever it was totally wrong. There was a recommendation, but it was never actually, the United Nations never actually declared two states there. I mean, it was just ridiculous. But, you know...
He also mentioned, omitted to mention a few other things. He didn't mention that in the Bible we know of the Israelites, the Jewish people who have been there for 3,500 years. He didn't mention the butchery that Hamas undertake. He didn't mention the hostages. He didn't mention that half a dozen times that there have been deals done for a two-state, and the Palestinians have rejected it, even though there was a two-state agreement. And then when it came to the 11th hour, people like Yasser Arafat, who got a Nobel Peace Prize for this, said, no, we're not going to do it. And that's telling us that the Palestinians actually want to continue this butchery and completely wipe Israel off the face of the map. And it's no wonder that no other Arab country has taken Gazan refugees. We've taken 3,000. Why have we done this? So he didn't mention the obvious anomalies to his narrative, which is an undergraduate wet behind the ears narrative.
And of course, he didn't mention anything about what happens back in Australia. George Christensen had put up a post during the week to say that Labor has spent $3.8 million for the pandas, $36 million for the Kiev embassy, and $17 million more for the Ukraine, $165 million for the Solomon Islands police, and Christensen says that's $220 million, while every Australian is facing cost of living crisis, rising costs, and as Jacinta Price said at CPAC, Professor, the future cost of renewables could be between 6 to 9 trillion Australian dollars. How's that going to affect our economy and cost of living and our lifestyle?
Well, I went to CPAC also. I go every year. I saw my friend George Christensen. I get his missives every second day, and there was a lot on net zero at CPAC. We had some good advice from Liz Truss, as we had from Tony Abbott. I also gave a talk and appeared on Outsiders, which was broadcast live from CPAC. It's a wonderful conference to go to. Simply because you hear things at CPAC which the mainstream media will never talk about. And what you hear is the truth. What you hear is information from people who have been around the block a few times and know their stuff. Jacinta Price gave a wonderful talk, and she's absolutely fabulous. And so all of the luminaries of the Conservative movement were there. We noticed that there were various people from the Liberal Party, from the left side of the Liberal Party, that weren't there. So it's a very interesting conference to go to, and basically it's rather good to be with a crowd of people who are like-minded. It's hard to get that. You do get it around the dining room table, but not many other parts of the country you get it.
But, Professor, this human rights move or initiative where they are going to close down misinformation and disinformation, which basically means if you dare to disagree, particularly on something like climate change, you better shut up, because if you disagree with them, you're going to be I don't know what, you're going to be disappeared.
Well, to save you the headache and the brain damage, I have looked at the submissions made to the Senate for their inquiry into misinformation and disinformation regarding climate change.
Yeah.
And there are, and don't quote me, but I think there are about 161 submissions, most of which are from green groups. There were two senators, one independent and one Nation, that put in a submission. I put in by far the biggest submission, and I was arguing the points that everything we're being told about climate change is misinformation and disinformation, and the government is doing it. And my submission was fact. Now, there were submissions there from green groups, and some of these green groups wanted to jail people like me and like those around the dining room table who actually begged to differ. And we beg to differ because of data. But they want to jail people. Now, I'm quite happy to agree with that on the condition that they get jailed if they're wrong.
Yeah.
And it's very easy to show that they're wrong. So there were submissions from the Human Rights Commission. There were submissions from a few individuals. There were submissions from various rural groups objecting to these renewable energy zones and offshore wind turbines. But most of them are green groups, and all the usual suspects, whether they're Greenpeace and Friends of the Earth and the Australian Conservation Foundation, really, really glossy submissions. But none of them dealt with fact. They dealt with opinion. And their opinion, unrelated to fact, was clearly superior. And if we have a different view, then we get jailed. Now, it'd be interesting to see what this Senate committee does, because chairing the committee is a Green with a hyphenated name, and double bunger names and Greens don't seem to go together, but they're there. It's dominated by Labor. There's also a chap there that I think had a few too many kicks in the head when he was playing rugby international for Australia. But there is a Liberal there, forgotten the name, and Matt Canavan is on the committee. And I spoke to Matt over the weekend, and I said, for God's sake, call me up to give evidence. I want to be cross-examined by this group of clowns, because they're going to go for me on ideology, and I'll stick to fact. And my fact has been repeated for hundreds of years, and these facts get you to come to a conclusion that carbon dioxide and humans have nothing to do with climate change. So we're in very interesting times. The government now, they've got 30 or so percent of the vote, they've got 60 or so percent of the seats, now think that they've got a carte blanche to do whatever they want to do.
Yeah.
And you can see their true colours, and it's called totalitarianism.
Yep. When you think of the original Greenie, what was his name? Patrick...
Bob Brown.
Bob Brown, but Dr. Patrick Moore. And I think you know him, don't you?
I know Patrick Moore. He was an original... He started Greenpeace, and he was kicked out, and he commented after he was kicked out that it's turned from an environmental organisation to an organisation that is a communist-based organisation that is just dealing with ideology. He wrote the foreword to one of my books. It was called Not for Greens.
Yep.
And Patrick has argued that we should be burning fossil fuels and making cement to put carbon dioxide or plant food back into the atmosphere to feed our plants. Now, he is a plant ecologist. That's what his PhD was in. Patrick is still very much an environmentalist, but he realises the damage that this green movement is doing to the environment.
And he says that there is not one scrap of evidence that CO2 is either bad or causing global warming, and if there was any evidence, it would be written down somewhere, and they would be able to present that as part of their argument, but it doesn't exist.
Well, that's been an argument I've had for years, and if someone could show that carbon dioxide emitted by humans drove global warming, it would be shouted from the mountaintops. I have pursued scientists at the Scott Polar Institute at Cambridge University and various institutes around Australia and said, look, just give me half a dozen scientific papers that demonstrate that it is the human emissions of carbon dioxide drive global warming. Now, I either get abused or I get rubbish papers fed to me that are unrelated to the subject. One chap at the Scott Polar Institute in Cambridge recommended that I look at his books on this subject. He wanted to sell his books. Well, no one has shown me. Now, I've been chasing this evidence for 20 years.
Yeah.
Show me that human emissions drive global warming. And this is the fundamental question you should ask in science and just in common life all the time. Show me. Just show me. I'm happy to entertain your idea, but show me. Give me the evidence.
You see, it sounds...
Because scepticism underpins science.
It sounds like a conspiracy theory, but how would you possibly get so many men of science and women of science to go along with this stuff?
I think it's fraud rather than conspiracy. And it's fraud because a very large number of these people in climate institutes are eminently unemployable. They are mathematical modelers, and they need to frighten us witless to keep your taxes coming into their institute to keep them funded. So I think, and I would agree with, Trump agrees with me on this, I think it's the biggest fraud that's ever been perpetrated in the history of time.
Yeah.
It's certainly scientific fraud, and it's also benefiting economic fraud.
Yeah. So where do you think it will end?
It'll end with a crisis, and it will end in tears, and it will end in people losing enormous amounts of money. And this is why Twiggy Forrest and others are doing everything possible to protect their self-interest.
Yeah, but it's a surprising thing. It would have to get to that crisis, that crunch.
Well, we've seen it before. We've seen it before with the Dutch tulip crisis. It wasn't as big as this, but the Dutch tulip craze was people were paying 2 years' wages for one bowl. It was a complete artificial market. It produced nothing, and people spent money on things which were a craze. We've seen it before.
What's the theory behind a carbon tax? I mean, you can't tax yourself to a cleaner environment, can you?
The theory behind a carbon tax is that we, the government, have spent far too much money. We're not operating the budget like we have a household budget. Here we've got a new opportunity to rip money out of the households such that we can pay back debt and keep borrowing money to pay the interest on what we borrow. It's got nothing to do with the environment. If you pay more tax, I don't see how that can change the climate.
Yeah. Well, was Tony Abbott at this conference in Brisbane?
Oh yes. Tony was there. He gave always one of the early keynote speeches. He's a very busy man. He went elsewhere afterwards. I think I'll see him again at an Institute of Public Affairs function in 2 weeks' time. But he's always at these. He's always one of the stars, as is Warren Mundine, who used to be the president of the ALP, and has seen the light. And he is able to, like Jacinta, talk on Aboriginal matters and say, look, we're being robbed on this. We still haven't solved any of the problems. We've got settlements in remote areas where we've got an appalling abuse of women. We have drugs. We have beating of women. We have no employment. Why are we doing that? So there's quite a list of luminaries there.
And Tony Abbott has been an advocate for, I think, controlled development of renewables, but also to be realistic. And he's made the comment about the Liberal Party that whenever the Liberal Party has addressed the electorate regarding a sensible renewables energy policy, they've actually gained a great deal of traction with the electorate. So he's actually advocating that the present management of the Liberal Party get on with the job of coming up with some decent, workable, sensible, logical policy.
Well, he has advocated that ever since at Beaufort in Victoria, just west of Ballarat, where he said that this climate change is a load of crap. Those were his words. And I often talk to him on this. He gets all my books. He's very circumspect in public. He's not too critical of the Liberal Party. I am. The Liberal Party has to get rid of the left. They have to reorganise. I hope that process is going on now, but Menzies faced this problem in 1943 when the United Australia Party got walloped in an election, and then he cobbled together all of the Conservative parties to form the Liberal Party. Now, that opportunity exists now with people from the National Party, the right of the Libs, One Nation, Family First, the Libertarians, put them all together and call it what it is, the Conservative Party.
Yes,
that's
I totally
just
agree.
Waiting to be done.
Yeah, totally
That's
agree.
waiting to be done. But to do that, you need a leader with charisma. And you look at many of our Liberal leaders now, they've had very successful charisma bypass operations. They're not leaders.
Who should be the leader of this Conservative Party?
I don't think they're in the Parliament yet.
Interesting.
You don't think Hastie's a possibility?
Well, in handcuff prospecting, we employ vets. We have 244 vets. They have a nickname, which I'm not going to say on air, about Hastie. They know him better than we do, and I listen to them. So I think he's probably not mature enough. I know Suzanne Lay well. She used to be my local member at Broken Hill. I quite often talk to her quite often at dinners with her. She's a lovely lady, but she's not the one to lead a divided Liberal Party or to pull it together.
Yeah.
We have a couple of people in the Senate who could do it, and I think of people like Alex Antic and Matt Canavan.
Yes.
But they would have to go to the lower house to do it, and Matt Canavan's LNP, not Liberal Party. But I don't think we've got that person in Parliament yet. Someone who has got
charisma. You need a Peter Malinauskas of the Liberal Party.
He's definitely got it.
Well, I think you need someone tougher than him. But it will happen. There is a big conservative population out there. What is interesting is all the statistics are showing that more and more people are going to church, especially young ones. And if you go to church, you must be conservative. So I see there's a bit of hope. I suspect that in the next election, One Nation may well end up with 2 senators in Queensland and 1 in every state. They won't get 1 in the ACT. And I think they could possibly end up with a balance of power rather than the Greens. And that would change things considerably. Now, that party's called the Pauline Hanson One Nation. So it all rotates around a person. And you can't have it rotate around your best player on the ground. It's got to rotate around the team.
But, Professor, do you see the Charlie Kirk phenomena having some traction here in Australia eventually?
Oh, yes, I do. It's had some negative traction in that Mrs. Reinhardt now insists that if I go to an advertised public meeting and talk that I have security. And so I had more security than Tony Abbott. At CPAC, I gave a talk down the Gold Coast where I had security. Even when you go into the dunny for a piddle, I've got someone that comes in. So it may well be an overreaction, but I think in terms of security, we've had a change. In terms of the way in which people think, I think a lot of people have said, no, this is enough. No, this is enough. We're not going to put up with this anymore. I had hardly heard of the man. Now I hear him all the time. And what that means is he's probably more powerful in death than he is in life. And with him, with Trump, and with the team around Trump, I think the Western world will have to move to the right. And Trump's UN talk showed that. You have to have a common sense that we around the dining room table espouse all the views that Trump espoused in his UN address, and the world has to follow. And I hope that when he talks to Albo, he just reads in the Riot Act that if you want to deal with us, this is what you have to do. You've got to cut back on immigration. You've got to get rid of this climate change nonsense. You've got to increase the amount of funds going to defence. The list is a long one. On we go. So I think Charlie Kirk is... Sometimes you have a trigger that sets things off, and I think this is the trigger.
I love the way... I love it, Professor, I love the way we accept the Paris figure, and it's 10 years ago that they came up with that, and we've got the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate, whatever the hell it is. So they dictate to us what our target should be, and we say, yes, sir. And yet, when it comes to defence, and the Americans come along and say, well, you know, you've got to be putting 3 or 5% of your GDP, we say, no, you can't tell us what our target is. No, we will do what's right for Australia. Now, why don't they apply that to the climate issue?
Well, the climate issue is the new religion. The left has been... corroding Christianity from within for 50 years. It started with the breakdown of the education system and it's still going on. So it is the new religion, whereas defence, well, you know, we'll throw a few bob to the defence and hope everyone shuts up. Now, what we should be doing is going and talking to the Ukraine and saying, well, we'll give you a whole lot of our weapons, but by God, we'd like to know how to operate these drones. Can you teach us? We need submarine drones around this country. By the time we get submarines, then they'll be out of use, and we'll probably need drones. We need to go and talk to the Israelis and say, how do we get an Iron Dome system for Australia? How do we actually defend ourselves against someone who's much bigger? We need to have Mossad talk to ASIO and teach ASIO to ferret out all the bad buggers that we've got that have come into this country. We need to start talking to critical people. The interesting thing is that I think we are doing that. I have a grandson in the ADF. He's currently in Japan. I don't ask him what he does because I don't want to put him in a difficult situation. But what are Australian soldiers doing in Japan? So there's some interesting things going on in the background.
Professor, always wonderful to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Drive carefully, will you?
We will.
God bless you.
All the best.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, bye.
Very grateful. I'm on my way. Telephone number 049 65 68 60. The Court of Public Opinion. That's the public opinion hotline that I just gave you. I'm going through my telephone here, which is also like a filing cabinet, because I've got. Here it is. I want to play you this. This is a little bit of Dr. Patrick Moore, just before we leave the subject of climate change. Not that we're going to leave the subject of climate change.
And I'm going to leave as well. I'm going to take my leave, Jeremy. Thank you for having me on today.
The Honourable Frank Pangallo, ladies and gentlemen.
Look forward to returning to the table.
I will look forward to...
And the Court of Public Opinion.
Thank you for coming.
No, my pleasure.
No.
Enjoyed it today.
You're wonderful.
That was an amazing revelation by Ian Plimer. I haven't heard that one before.
Just stay there and let me... have we got John Bruni on the line?
He's on the line there, yeah.
You have.
Ah, John, welcome. I just want to play this. This is a little piece that I found on Dr. Patrick Moore, who was the guy who came up with... He was the fellow who originated Greenpeace.
Okay.
And this is what he says about climate change. Where are we?
Idea that carbon dioxide is a pollutant and somehow dangerous, when in fact it is the most important nutrient for all life on Earth, and without it this would be a dead planet. So I say not only is carbon dioxide good, it is essential, and it's a good thing that we are putting some more carbon dioxide in the atmosphere because it was running low before we came along. If we had definitive proof that CO2 was causing serious problems and we could prove it, don't you think they would write that down on a piece of paper somewhere so people could read it? They don't have definitive proof, period, in science. I'm a student of the philosophy and history of science, and I know that the scientific method has not been applied in such a way as to prove that carbon dioxide is causing the Earth to warm.
You think in a few years, say 50 years from now, people go, that was a really stupid period in our history when we tried to change all our energy policies to cut this gas?
I am firmly of the belief that the future will show that this whole hysteria over climate change was a complete fabrication. One of my missions...
Well, you see, I think I can't see how these people can ignore such a man of credibility, green credentials as well. But anyway, there you go. How are you, John?
I'm very good, thanks, Jeremy.
How's everything at Sage International?
Busy as usual. You know, I mean, the world is turning constantly, Jeremy. I just don't get no sleep no more.
Oh, God, where do we start? Was Putin just being cheeky? Was he testing the water? Was he testing the patience of NATO when he sent, I'm assuming he sent, was it 3 MiG-31 jet fighters?
To Estonia.
To Estonia? Was that... and should they have shot them down?
I'll answer the second question first, and I say
Trump
yes.
did say shoot them down.
He did.
Well, I say shoot them down as well, because, I mean, obviously now Vladimir Putin is starting to get a bit desperate. The Ukrainians have developed their own long-range strike capabilities. They've got a missile called the Flamingo, which can go anywhere up to about, I think, around about 1,800 kilometers deep into Russia. So they don't need long-range weaponry from the West per se. I mean, they'd obviously welcome more if that was available, but they've got their own indigenous capacity to produce long-range weapons to hit Russia. Now, as the Russians have been doing nothing more than focusing on terror bombing Ukrainian civilians, because, of course, their equipment isn't too good, they don't really care about humans much, and so they have no problems about bombing cities, destroying kindergartens and all that kind of good stuff that the Russians think is going to win them the war. The Ukrainians have developed another way of fighting, and that is they've been using their technological prowess to target Russian energy production, because of course we all know that the only thing that Russia produces is oil and gas. That's all it produces. It's not, I mean, even though it is also an agricultural power of some note, oil and gas is the primary thing around which most of the Russian economy operates. Now, if you can successfully close down part, if not all of that capacity, all of a sudden you're going to have queues of angry Russians at every petrol station because they can't get access to affordable petrol anymore. Also, countries that depend on the smooth flow and export of Russian oil, and here I'm talking about countries like India and China, they won't be getting their very cheap oil in vast quantities as they once did. So, of course, this is quite the turning point for Putin, because I think he understands that now that the Ukrainians are fighting him asymmetrically and they're fighting him very cleverly, he needs to try to scare NATO. His idea is to scare NATO before NATO has gotten rearmament underway, because of course we all know that now NATO under Ursula von der Leyen has made these pronouncements that the Europeans are going to be pump priming all European national military forces, and that in itself may not mean much to us here in Australia. It will mean a lot to Russia, because the last thing they need is a strong and united NATO. At the moment, they've got a weak and kind of, iffy and butty NATO, and the Americans are, kind of playing that weird game where they're either, one day they're in, the next day they're out. No one knows where the Americans are at the moment under Trump, but that's okay. The European component of NATO and the European Union generally have kept their levels of unity going. Now, if they can also bolster that up with some strength, then the tide will turn against Russia. So, of course, Russia knows this. I mean, Putin knows this. So what he wants to do is that while things are still weak and a bit wishy-washy on the European continent, let's put Article 5, the one central tenet of NATO, to the test. Because once Putin can demonstrate that Russian military equipment can just, transit any Western border without any consequence, that gives a lie to Article 5. That'll then give a crisis of confidence in NATO, which is the architecture that defends Europe from Russian aggression. And then all this is the Putin-esque theory, all of the NATO countries will just say, oh, I'm Jack of NATO, I'll look after myself. And of course, we all know, left to their own devices, independent European nation states won't have the capacity to resist Russia militarily. So Putin is also now trying an asymmetric strategy. Whether he succeeds or not really depends on how Brussels gets their act together, and they really need to get their act together. That's why I say, when the question is posed what to do with regard to drones and manned aircraft transgressing NATO borders, shoot them down. The only way you can ever take care of a bully is by giving him a bloody nose, because ultimately they're all cowards. And Putin is now running scared. He doesn't have that much in his tank, literally and metaphorically, because without petrol, he can't run his society. Without petrol, he can't run his war machine. And the Ukrainians are tearing chunks out of Russian energy production right now.
So he would be vulnerable right now, more so than in recent times.
Yep. Correct.
The MiG-31, is that a fighter or a bomber?
It's a fighter. It's actually an interceptor, so they're specifically designed to go after aircraft and shoot them out of the sky.
Is it good technology?
It's okay technology. It's very old technology.
Yeah, it's old.
So, you guys would probably remember the old Foxbat, the MiG-25. Caused a hell of a stir back in the day because it was like the most advanced thing that came out of the Soviet Union. Well, the MiG-31 is the successor to the MiG-25. It's a much bigger plane. It's reputedly still one of the fastest planes in the world. And in an environment where speed does matter, they can pose a reasonable threat. But against an aircraft like the F-35, if you believe the Lockheed Martin brochure, the F-35, is absolutely superior in every other way to the MiG. Now, the MiG can fly in and fly out very quickly, but the F-35 can detect the MiG and it can send hypersonic missiles after it. So really, from the Western perspective, the JSF or the F-35 doesn't have to fly like a MiG because the missile, the killing aspect of the aircraft, can fly far faster than the MiG and still shoot it out of the sky.
You remember that story about the Foxbat? There was a Russian pilot who...
Yes, went to Japan.
He defected to Japan, and they were very keen to get the Foxbat back, the Russians.
Yes.
But the Americans did get a chance to have a good look at it, and apparently it had kind of a wooden dashboard and valves, and it was really very, very old technology.
It was basic, but the thing that the Russians or the Soviets at the time, what they can do is they always do workarounds. They're very good at mathematics in Russia, unlike in the West. We've left that to the AI now, but back in Russia, they still pull out the protractor and the slide rule and do look, we may poke fun at that, but let's put it this way: they made weapons that were still threatening even under those sort of technological constraints that they were operating under, which in itself, deserves a bit of respect. Now, can they produce weapons that are of equal quality to the ones that the West is producing? Absolutely not. They don't have the computer design capacities that the West has. They don't have a lot of the computing power that the West relies on now to design, stealth fighters and hypersonic missiles and so on and so forth. The Russians can produce the kind of technology just under what the Americans can produce, but they can't match the Americans. That's why when you look at the Russians, or when you thought of the Soviet Union always tried to have a lot of cheap stuff that could overwhelm that one or two Western piece of equipment that they had to, try to destroy or eliminate. So for the Soviets, as for the modern Russians, it's a numbers game. Numbers count.
And John, from the perspective of a ground attack, which the Ukraine is, the Russian tanks have proven themselves to be quite primitive and very vulnerable. And they've lost a lot of hardware.
They have, yeah.
Dr. John Bruni is our special guest around the dining room table. Just before you came on, Professor Ian Plimer was talking to us from his car. And one of the interesting things he said, he said what we should be doing, and what the Liberals or the Conservatives should be out there advocating for, is that we should be talking to the Israelis, finding out how we can have a dome, a steel dome to protect Australia, or a gold dome, or whatever we can afford at the time, and talk to people who are obviously very smart, and put the energy from climate change, all that stuff, into defence.
Well, look, being the archetypal cynic that I am, I understand where Ian's coming from, but there's no way in hell that's going to ever happen in Australia. But let's play that out, shall we? So a lot of the technology that the Americans and the Israelis are using are extraordinarily expensive. I mean, if it wasn't for America financially supporting Israel, the Israelis, in spite of all their innovation, wouldn't be able to afford their own weapons. So in order for them to scale up, to kind of re-export their Iron Dome, Arrow, and David Sling anti-ballistic missile, anti-aircraft weapons off to the United States, where Trump rebadges it the Golden Dome, because, of course, we know the American president has a Golden Dome. So, look, sorry.
You couldn't help yourself, John. You could not help yourself. Tony's not here, by the way. You don't have any support.
So anyway, having said that, for Australia to go down that path where we were to get, really high-end anti-ballistic missile, weaponry, we would need to grow our economy at least another 3 or 4 times to afford that kind of stuff. Now, the Americans can subsidize Israel and take care of itself. It's big enough and nasty enough to do that kind of thing. The Australians are not that big, not that nasty, and quite frankly, not that ambitious. I don't see anyone in Canberra.
John, can I make a couple of comments? Sorry to interrupt your flow of thought there, but when you're trying to defend a small plot of geography like what Israel is, compared to a continent the size of Australia, which is the same size as Europe or the United States or even Russia and China for that matter, it's almost an impossibility with our economy. But the other point, which is the real danger for all Australians, is the balance of our population and where our future population is coming from. Because if you look at Europe, the invasion of Europe isn't necessarily by armaments or foreign bodies. Well, it is foreign bodies, literally people. And if you look at places like the UK, the voting blocks now are considerably different, and people who are the new immigrants to the UK and like France and other countries, their future has been determined by people who are immigrants to the country. And similarly, Australia, if you start looking now at the type of or nationalities that are coming into Australia, those voting blocks will also determine the future for Australia and the future of our position geopolitically, as many countries in Europe are now facing the problem, because things have changed rapidly just in the last 10 years.
Look, Les, I think... Oh, sorry, Jeremy. I think that is absolutely true to a degree, that we tend to, not want to know that much more about it, except for the fact that there is one thing that I will always say will trump immigration, and that's for immigrant countries like Australia, countries that have depended on immigration for the last 100 or so years. It is the failure to integrate people.
Yes.
If you were to have people coming into Australia who were loyal to Australia, and you could guarantee that these people were sharing the same sorts of overarching concepts,
values.
that we all... Where all the values that all of us around the table would agree with, that's not a problem. But where do we find that now? I mean, the folk in Canberra have decided to turn this place into a multicultural paradise. So now we only identify each other by our differences. And what has that done? Well, yeah, every successive wave of migrant that comes in is now another fifth columnist, potentially, sitting there waiting for their time to, I don't know, turn against another ethnic community like, the Jews, the Muslims, the Greeks, the Turks, the this, the that. All these ancient struggles are coming to the fore, and they're playing out in the streets of Australian cities. Now, the average Australian is justifiably concerned about that. But there's a very simple way of getting rid of this. Just stop with the multicultural rubbish.
Yeah, I agree.
While you are here, you are an Australian.
Yes.
You subscribe to the laws of the Commonwealth of
Yeah.
Australia. If you do not, there is a boat with your name on it and we'll ship you back to where you came from
Yeah.
because you're not worthy of the title citizen. Now, if we were a little tougher on these things, a lot of the public concern that we would find with immigration generally would be a thing of the past. But you go and tell those folk in Canberra, those multiculturalists who go off and they are a piece of work, the whole lot of them. They tell us that we need to tolerate people, and really the whole idea is I don't want to tolerate my neighbour. I want to like my neighbour. I want to know my neighbour's got my back if I've got a problem. I don't want to think that they're, plotting to either garrot me in the middle of the night or blow up my the centre of my city for some weird concept that I'm not even part of. So these are the things that most Australians are concerned about, and justifiably so. But do you think our politicians who go and rattle their tin cup in all the little ethnic groups that they themselves have created for us and make a big deal about, right? Oh, I go and get the Greek vote, or I go and get the Italian vote, or I go and get the Muslim vote, or the Jewish vote, or the this vote, or the that vote. That all plays into the whole notion that we're not one people. Yeah, we're a collection of angry, frustrated groups all trying to lobby our politicians to do what we think is right by our community standards, but not by the nation. That's a problem, I'm sorry to say.
And look, we have 100,000 people in Australia who have deemed through the law process to the highest level, the High Court of Australia, to be illegal in Australia, and the government's not deporting them.
100,000?
Over 100,000.
That's unbelievable.
And of course,
it's believable, Jeremy.
Of course, they'd all be on welfare. They'd all be provided housing.
Why doesn't the government get this? Is public opinion not so loud or strong or vocal that the government thinks it is? They actually think that they're doing the right thing?
Let me tell you something about public opinion. Public opinion doesn't matter an iota. I remember back in just before we decided to go off and invade Iraq and get rid of Saddam Hussein, there were millions of people around the world who thought it was a bad idea, and good on them for having done that. They protested by the million in the UK. We even had hundreds of thousands here in Australia protesting against it, saying, you know what? Better the devil that we know and we can contain him rather than the crap that will follow by dethroning Saddam Hussein. What democratic country, what democratic government decided to say, wow, that's a big public outcry. Maybe we should pay attention to the people. No one did. So, in spite of the rubbish that we're being fed, that we are living in a democracy, let's look at the system for what it is. We're living in an oligarchy. Nominally some form of, well, in our case, we're not a republic, but some form of oligarchic republic kind of thing that we're sitting in, where the people who are in charge, and I'm including our political leaders who we vote for and who should be our public servants, those are the people who tell us what to do. They're not the public servants where we have a vote and we tell them what we want. Right. Yeah. So there is a critical problem here and a fundamental disconnect in how we ought to be moving ahead. But look, talking about this is not going to help change people's views. The only way that's going to happen is if you end up having a new political party that can go public with this kind of notion and create policy revolving around common sense.
That's what
I don't see that happen.
That's what Professor Plimer says too. The time is absolutely right to bring together the right or conservative or centre-right parties. And there are, I think he named One Nation and Family First and the National Party, and possibly people who would become disillusioned with the Liberal Party, to form a proper conservative party, not a, I don't know what the Liberals would be, a Liberal Demic. I don't know what you'd call them, but they're not the Liberal Party of old.
Well, they are not the party of Menzies.
No.
Believe me. They are not.
No. And I guess if you look at the UK, I mean, probably most people in the UK, sensible people in the UK, would not want Keir Starmer as the head of the country. But they've been voted in for, another 3 or 4 years at least, I think it is. And most people would love to have Nigel Farage.
Yep.
Well, look, Nigel Farage, for all his faults, and allegedly he's got quite a few of them, the fact of the matter is he's very popular. He is actually seen, because he actually is outside of the system and outside of the prevailing ideology, and he is spruiking for some different vision of Britain. Now, I mean, I don't know whether his version of Britain will work. That remains to be seen, but he's certainly popular. And I mean, again, just across the channel, you've got the National Front in France. They're still very, very big and are giving Macron, is giving Macron a headache. And then you've got the AfD in Germany, which is also, the Christian Democrats under Merz is doing okay. But the subtext is, if for whatever reason he makes a slip up, the AfD, who are very extreme right in their sentiment, are just underneath the CDU now, because the socialists are nowhere to be seen.
And of
so,
course,
we're living in very different times.
And in Hungary, of course, the people wanted change, so they put in Viktor Orban, and for most reasons, he's doing all right over there too. As a conservative leader.
Now tell me, John, do you reckon that there were, CIA or FBI or somebody like that at the United Nations General Assembly the other day sabotaging the escalator, and of course his auto cue? He seemed to think that they were out to get him.
Donald Trump, he does have a chip on his shoulder, and he's very paranoid. I know that his teleprompter has often been the cause of his great misery during the campaign leading up to his election or his presidency in January of this year. He's had plenty of those technical glitches. And you know what? I've got to say something here, guys, and that is sometimes shit happens. Sometimes technology doesn't work, and sometimes the constellations will align where not even the bloody lift works. I mean, we've all had one of those days, but it doesn't mean that we're all, they're out to get me. They're out to get me. No, I mean, we may think it at the time, but the reality is slightly more mundane.
But look, the reality is that he, whether it was teleprompter or he had notes, he did a 1-hour presentation. He had a full house. They were literally full to the brim, and our own Prime Minister almost had an empty house. That tells you something.
John.
Oh, Liz, my cynicism is rubbing off on you.
Thank you very
John,
much.
just going back to what you're saying about a new party, why not just call it what it is? Just call it the centre-right party.
Why not a Conservative Party? That really says it all.
Sure. I think
Conservative Party has a good ring to it.
Yeah, a good ring to it. Oh, well.
It's a very old word, that's all.
Dr. John, thank you so much. As always, I just love you. You're fantastic.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. Thank you, boys.
John.
Cheers.
You've never been tempted.
Bye.
You've never been tempted to run for politics yourself.
I have been in politics, and let me tell you, it is a cesspit. So I'm happy being on the outside.
All right.
Anyway, go
Thanks
the
a lot,
Cats.
John.
Happy Grand Final.
Dr. John Bruni, ladies and gentlemen.
You're listening to the Court of Public Opinion with Jeremy Cordeaux, where the time is 11 a.m. Australian Central Standard Time.
Hey, what's the weather for the weekend gonna be? Will it be hot, cold, rain, snow? Ooh,
And the weather today in Adelaide, it will be a partly cloudy day.
You may not find us on your TV, because in case you did not know, we're being brought to you by, brought to you by, brought to you by RADI.
Yes, indeed, RADIO. Caroline's just brought me a picture. Now, Caroline, this is the this is not the Oval Office, is it?
No, it's in the White House.
It's in the White House, and it's a sort of a picture gallery of all the presidents going back. How far do you reckon? Anyway, far enough. And right up to President Trump. And just before President Trump, there is a picture, but it is not of the former President Joe Biden. It is a picture of a, well, you say it.
Mechanical pen.
It's a mechanical pen.
It's called an auto pen.
An auto pen, mechanical pen.
Signing Joe Biden.
So signing Joe Biden. So what is he saying here? In a very subtle way.
He probably doesn't think much of Joe Biden.
Well, I would have replaced Trump with either a clown or a kindergarten student.
Oh, Tony, behave.
One of the great journalists of this country, Jason Morrison, coming up in just a moment. I want to listen to the radio. Listen to the radio. Don't know who sings that, but I rather like it.
Yep.
Telephone number, if you'd like to ring us, 0491 65 68 60, the public opinion hotline, which will bring you right to the dining room table. Jason Morrison is on the line, I think. Jason?
I am.
God bless you. How are you?
Jeremy, going well. I love that radio song. I've always gone looking for it, and I used to hear it. Funnily enough, last time I heard it was when I heard you playing it on the radio. But
I don't know. Somebody sent it to
anywhere.
me. Well, when I was at AA, somebody sent it to me, and I was very grateful because it came out as an EP that the what did they call themselves? It was the Federation of Australian Broadcast
Radio Marketing Bureau.
Oh, yeah. And there was a rock and roll version. There was that one, which is a sort of soulful version. There was a sort of a Beach Boys version. And they're all basically the same, but they're catchy. And I don't see radio stations having those sort of things anymore. I don't know why. They worked for me.
Well, yeah, I got to figure out how to get a copy from you.
Okay, I've just got to find it.
We've got 2 copies here.
We've got 2 copies.
The fast one, if you want
Well, yeah, what's the fast one sound like? Oh, yeah.
That's the same.
My mama was swaying to and fro while she listened to the radio. She said, now hush, it's time for bed. But the bed was hot. No, I said, Mama, why don't you rock me nice and slow while we listen to the radio? It makes me smile and it makes me glad. It makes me laugh and it makes me sad. From the day I was born to the day I go, I want to listen to the radio. Yeah, it lifts me up and it turns me on. It stays by my side till the night is gone. From the day I was born to the day I go, I want to listen to the radio. Listen to the radio.
Yeah, that's the long version. Do you remember?
It's good.
Were you at 2GB when they had the Happy Day, Have a Happy Day package that they bought from America?
I wasn't. I was a kid, and I did hear it. I heard it used to go on. We hope it helps you say, "Have a happy day."
Yes, you've got that. Yeah, hang on, we got it.
We're looking for a friendly place, a silver lining, a happy face, a little grin in that open space.
God, it takes me back.
And a chance to say, have a
happy day.
We're looking for people rising to give a cheer for a home team win and share a laugh with the kith and kin and find time to say, have a happy day. We're searching for good.
I think we can finish it there. Oh, but the memories. And that, I don't know who it was in America, but they packaged up these 10-second, 20-second, 30-second jingles. And people used to buy them. Back when radio was...
King.
Had money.
Yeah, had money. Yeah. What do you... When you sent me a little message saying that you bumped into Anne Forward.
Yeah.
How about that? Well, yeah, how about that? Where did you bump into her?
Well, we're both members at the SCG in Sydney.
Uh-huh.
And I'm kind of walking. They've got a gym and a pool and everything there for people who are members. And I'm sitting there. I look across, and there's a lady looking at me, and I looked a mess. And you know, she looked like Anne, and I was looking at her going, "That's Anne." I didn't even know she was still in Sydney. I thought she'd moved to Melbourne or something. But we once worked together at Channel 10. But you know what we both have in common is we both started out with you.
Well, you know the funny thing, she's always been very athletic. She would go running and all sorts of things. Very fit, extremely fit woman. But like all producers, bossy. But a nice lady, very nice lady.
Always good, and you know, one of these really decent, nice people. And it's rare, you know, you'd know it, Jeremy, because you've met plenty of TV people. Something weird happens to people's minds when they go on TV, and you don't see it as much with radio. You never see it in newsprint, but you put one of these people on television, and half of them go nuts.
Yeah.
Not Anne. Anne is as down to earth as the day you met her. She's a nice person.
She's not still in the business, or is she?
No,
we don't know.
She's sort of out.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, like it's just like everyone. We're not in it at the moment, but we could get into it if we wanted to, if someone hired us.
No, well, I think you are brilliant. I really do. I think you are. 2GB lets you walk out that door when you'd finished filling in. How long did you fill in for? Was it?
Oh, I say a couple of weeks.
Couple of weeks. Well,
not long enough.
Well, they shouldn't have let you walk out the door. What do you make of this rumour that Nine Entertainment have actually got 2GB, 3AW, 4BC and 6PR on the market?
I think it's true, but it's like everything. Everything's for sale at the right price. I think they have an inflated view of its value, and it's not because they're not valuable stations. It's because the market and the way they have been run, and I'm not criticising the people running it, I'm more criticising a company strategy that sort of thought that you could just treat radio like another little TV station.
Yeah, but they're not really radio people. They're venture capitalists, aren't they?
Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, Channel 9, the major owners, look, they're probably the biggest Australian media company around. Newsprint, TV stations, regional TV, and Bruce Gordon, who is a good old fashioned operator. Yeah. Bruce is the majority shareholder, kind of unofficially, because he hasn't exerted his authority to control yet.
Yeah.
But I think they look at it, and I think they look at radio as being a risk, because if you know, all these TV stations and newspapers, and you know, you got someone like me on the air, and I upset Bunnings, and Bunnings says, right, we're not going to advertise on 2GB, 3AW, 4BC, etc., and all your TV stations until you sack that bastard.
Yes.
You know, and these companies behave like that.
And they do. You're perfectly right.
They do. You know, and this is the untold story of the Australian media. I mean, there are some real, you know, I'll call them, police, mind police, thought police that exist inside corporations. And because they ultimately have the control, because they're paying the bills with the advertising, they get to say what goes. And a lot of it, you know, we saw the sort of slow undoing of Alan Jones's career because they did exactly that. And advertiser boycotts, and all of a sudden you've got, you know, a fellow who is, you know, it's biggest ratings you've ever known, probably the biggest salary that's ever been known on radio, and yet no one will advertise because the advertisers have decided, let's get him. It's terrible.
And Jason, Les Ellicus here at the dining room table. I notice you're a regular on Sky News, and probably Sky doesn't have the same sort of formalities that the commercial stations would have. What's your feeling about what would happen if Sky News wasn't in the Australian landscape?
I got mixed views about it. I mean, I think Sky's numbers are not great, as in its audience numbers.
Mm.
It tends to have a very loyal and repetitive, and there's nothing wrong with that, but audience, and they keep it alive, but it doesn't do an enormous amount of advertiser dollars, and it's in a subscription model. I think if it ended up on free-to-air television everywhere, not just in the bush, if it ended up on free-to-air TV, I think it'd be a huge force. And we've seen that sort of happen in the United States with Fox News. I mean, Fox News has the #1 late-night talk show. Most people don't know that. They kind of think, oh, Jimmy Kimmel's got a huge audience or whoever. No, no. Fox News has got the #1 audience at night, late at night.
Oh, in fact, Jason, the left-leaning broadcasters in the United States, like Kimmel and Colbert, those sort of programs are declining numbers. People have woken up to their rhetoric and their.
But they're also very, very expensive too, aren't they?
Well, the
huge.
The people themselves are very expensive,
and staffs of hundreds. You know, it's crazy, and and a lot of people don't know this. So they get recorded mid-afternoon, so they end up being like 2 days out of the date by the time they get to air. Because it takes a day for the guy to write the joke, and it takes a day for it to be produced, and it ends up on air that night. So they're not up to date, up to scratch. And there's been cases where huge stories are broken that the whole world's talking about, and they don't talk about them for 2 more days. So the whole genre is a mess. Whereas Gutfeld on Fox in America, I mean, he's not live; he's actually taped as well, but he's taped the same day and goes to air, and it's a very risque show, but it rates, and Americans are loving it, and they're loving the fact because you do the maths. I mean, how strongly Trump won that election. I mean, that's where the views of a lot of Americans are right now, and they like having someone holding the mirror up and saying it's okay to think like this.
And Jason, you're right. Gutfeld's contemporary, but he's also satirical, and his guests like Tyrus and amongst the others, they are funny, and it's a good variety show.
It's good. It's very good and much cheaper. It's like a one studio show, much cheaper to do. I mean, I saw the other day they had Charlie Sheen on as a guest, and he's a train wreck. But the whole thing that's kind of funny about it is that they took the mickey out of him, and he seemed to like it because he sort of felt comfortable in the environment. Whereas if you're a conservative or someone that's got in their mind something to answer for, and you show up on one of these other shows, you're basically on trial. It's hideous.
You say, holding a mirror up and you're saying to people it's okay to think like this. It's important to sort of hold something up that says it's okay to think. Now, we've got a human rights thing going on at the moment. You probably know about it with this information and disinformation bill, which is going to be the ultimate weapon for government to shut people like us up.
Yeah.
If they will deem that the things I say about climate change is disinformation. I don't know what. I think there's a penal clause in there as well, which means they can put you in jail.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They've got good reach, these organisations, when they want to. But they're not good at doing why they exist. I mean, why do we have a Human Rights Commission in Australia? It's meant to be there looking at racial vilification. It's meant to be looking at keeping the persecution of people because of their backgrounds and ideals to a minimum. I have no issue with that. I think it's important we're able to talk about these things, but you shouldn't be able to get on and say, all Catholics are horrible, kill Catholics. I mean, that is a horrendous thing to say and do. Yet I can tell you, those things are said often, and they go unpoliced and unpatrolled because there's sort of view that the minority needs a help, not policing. And then you've got this bizarre situation where we've just been through a period of horrendous anti-Semitism in Australia, and The Human Rights Commission, what do they do? How many people are they prosecuted for that?
No.
How many people talking about gassing Jews and whatever else have they gone after? Nil.
And the interesting thing is the Labor Party, and particularly the Labor luminaries of Whitlam, Keating, Hawke, they're all pro-Israel. And within moments, Albanese and Wong have turned that totally upside down. I mean, the reality is, Jason, anyone around the dining room table or anyone over the age of, your age, over 50, has lived a life where this government, any government, conservative or left-leaning, has supported Israel.
Yeah.
And now suddenly, against the people's will, or even asking the Australian population what their opinion about this is, suddenly Albanese has just turned the whole thing upside down.
Yeah.
It's extraordinary, isn't it? And for absolute vanity too, because you and I know that the world couldn't give a Jat's cracker about what Australia thinks about Israel and Palestinian policy. The world couldn't care about our position with respect to it because we're so far from it. We're so irrelevant. What we are is essentially ballast of support. I mean, they're our ally because they're the only democratic country in the middle of a largely undemocratic environment. That's why we're on their side. And you go and you look and you say, here's Australia mouthing off at the UN with we're going to support Palestine with a huge caveat, providing that Hamas is not involved and providing they disarm and providing that. I mean, there's no chance of that. There's no chance of Hamas. I mean, and this is the madness of it. Anyone who knows the detail, knows there's the West Bank and there's Gaza. And the West Bank is something that, they've found a way to kind of get on with Israel. And they're run by a political party, Fatah, which is nothing like Hamas. Hamas, which is an organisation that essentially condemns its rival to death. It's a death cult. It's a hideous thing. And where they're pretending we're going to back Palestinian statehood, providing Hamas moves out, no chance. It's such a vanity project.
Yep, you'd have to move all the people out because I understand it's 80% of the people are supporters of Hamas.
Yeah.
So how are you going to? And in any case, even if you win that, you can't. It's an ideology. It's not an army.
That's right. I mean, if you're motivated by the hatred of people based on a religion,
yes.
What do you? How the hell do you deal with an organisation like that?
Well, statistically, most people in that region, the average age of 19, know nothing else except being led by Hamas. So where do you think their allegiance is? Yeah. I mean, blind Freddie would know that they're going to support Hamas.
They're a little bit like the mafia, and the mafia was very popular in America because they were like a social service. They would come and look after you, whereas the government wouldn't. They would tend the sick and they'd give you handouts, and they even had a thing called the numbers racket, which was their version of Cross Lotto.
Yeah. I mean, look, Trump was probably pretty correct in giving a big stick to the members of the United Nations. And, there are just ironic situations like Qatar is giving safe refuge for the leadership of Hamas. Now, no one says a word against that.
I know. Jason, what do you reckon about the ban on social media for kids under 16? Do you think that's a good idea?
I'm a bit confused on it, to be honest, because I have kids in that demo. I have a 13-year-old who's looking at me at the moment. Strangely, it's the first day of school holidays. He doesn't normally hear his father talking like this to people on the phone. And then I've got an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old, and all boys, and they all obviously go to the same school and whatever else. They're all at different ages and stages in their development. Look, mate, I can tell you, I'd love nothing more than them to have no access to any of this stuff. But I always look at it and say, that's my job. I mean, the only reason they have access to it is because I'm lazy and I let them. And it's like, if I may use a comparison of the good old days, there's a very good reason why we used to not sit around in the, looking at copies of Playboy in front of mum and dad, because they didn't let us.
No.
There's a good reason we weren't walking around smoking at 10 years old, because our parents didn't let us.
No.
And I kind of have this feeling all the time. We've sort of got this view that this stuff's too hard to control, so we've got to outsource the policing of it to some government agency. I'm not sure I'm comfortable with that.
Well, I think, Jason, it boils back to the old-fashioned word, which is called parenting.
Yeah.
And if you don't give the device to your young ones, like I know there's a lady that comes to the gym. She's got 2 young boys, twin boys, and she's just adamant, I won't give them the device. And they haven't got the resources to buy, $1,000 iPhone or what have you. So they're outside the social media network because they don't have the device. End of story.
The
Parenting.
expectation often is that schools take over the role of policing those kinds of things. Of course, school curriculums are absolutely chock-a-block.
And I think parents generally need to be very vigilant and mindful what the government is trying to achieve, and maybe the government just wants to take too many rights away from us individuals and parents.
Yeah, I guess. But
Mate, they are great babysitters, these things. If I want to shut up my 3 kids, I hand them each a device, and that's that, and I have peace. And I think, how did my parents achieve peace? Before devices.
Got your own
They
answer.
turn the radio up louder, and then they threaten to give us a whack if we keep making toys.
But Jason, not being critical of you, isn't that being a bit lazy that you just hand them a device? And this
It's
is what
absolutely being lazy.
And
I used to sit mine down in front of the television set.
I mean, you see,
Same thing.
You go to a restaurant, you see this all the time. Even the bub in the pram gets a device put in front of them. Yeah, I mean, it's just bizarre. It's just bizarre.
Pacifiers.
Say it again.
Colouring books.
Colouring books. Caroline says, buy a colouring book. Oh, God, that's sort of passive.
Go-karting.
Nicole Spurio said to us during COVID, the men should clean out their sock drawers and do jigsaws. Well, jigsaws are a good way for occupying kids'
Yeah,
time.
but look, we're living in a very strange era of social engineering. I see that another early learning centre, they're basically child-minding, I don't know what you call them.
Did you say indoctrination centres?
Yes, that's probably right. They all probably say welcomes to country when they get in. And
Burn the eucalyptus leaves?
Yeah, they're given a black armband view of Australian history and all of that. I see that another one has got itself into trouble, closing down, the Edge Early Learning Centre. And, they've got kids there, Jason, as young as 12 months old. Why would people have children and take a 12-month-old baby off to a childcare centre? What happened to parenting?
Jeremy, I was for a long time in charge of a major capital city newsroom, and I had a few hundred staff. The number of times I'd have these almost arguments with my men and women employees, but mostly the women employees, to say, don't come back to work. Stay at home with the kid for a bit longer.
Be a mother.
Oh, it's a very hard thing to do, but I'm sort of almost trying to be a little bit moral with them and say, there's no pressure on you to return. I want you to enjoy motherhood. Stay at home. 12 months would be great. And you get paid for it these days. It's not like you go without the money like the old days.
Yeah, but Jason, that's unbelievable. People won't employ women. If you come to work, I don't know how long you have to work before you can apply for maternity leave, but she leaves for 12 months paid holiday. I mean, who can run a business like that?
Yeah, it's tough if the person hasn't got tenure with you. I agree. But, I look at, these were great employees, really good employees. So, I mean, I would have done everything to keep them. And I know Mr. Stokes, as the owner of the company, would probably support me on that front, that, if we've got great employees, you want to keep them. And if it means you've got to pay them to have a few months off to raise their kids, it's worth it, because finding good staff's hard these days. But then you have this situation where they almost want to be back at work in 6 weeks' time. And I'm like, why?
People are
and
over
because
it.
we've convinced a generation of young women that career is so important, career matters so
Indeed.
much, and that you're going to lose your step on the ladder if you dare step away. So don't step away for too long because someone else will take your spot.
Somebody once wisely said you can't have your cake and eat it. Make up your mind. You get married, you have children.
Here in South Australia, SAPOL, South Australian Police, the inside information I have is they're about 1/3 down on their staff. Why is that? Well, there's a part component that after COVID they couldn't recruit or get people back into the force, and people did leave the force. The component also is that people are on stress leave. There's also the component that people are on injury leave. And because of DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, the management of SAPOL says to women, you can go out on maternity leave, have your kid, you can stay out for a bit longer, but if you want to come back, they say, we'll give you flexible working arrangements.
Yeah.
And the coppers who are there full-time have got to pick up the slack for the ones who are out on maternity leave, out on flexible working arrangements, like you can come back, but not full-time, 3 days a week. Oh, you can start at 10 o'clock in the morning, finish at 4 in the afternoon. Well, we know that the criminals don't work like that. Yeah, they're
They don't?
Well, they're out there 24/7. The opportunities exist
These days
all
they've probably
the
got a
time.
union.
The criminal union. Well, look, the CFMEU, for God's sake.
But
the ultimate gangsters.
Criminals got a super scheme.
Well, look, there is a solution to this, Jason, and everybody, and that is the old-fashioned idea, and I don't know if they'd ever consider it, but you split the salary. So you say to the man, and I'm just old-fashioned enough to recognise that the system of having mum and dad and the kids, dad went to work, mum stayed at home, made a home, she looked after the kids. I like that business model. I think that worked extremely well. It was leave it to Beaver. It was father knows best. And it was a demonstration of basic common sense. Now, what we have now is some sort of hybrid thing based more on economics, I believe, than anything else. So if the man goes out and goes to work and he is allowed to split his salary between himself and his wife, you are literally... The wife has a job, the most important job in the world, being a mother, and she's being paid for it, half her husband's salary. And
society wins too.
Society
wins if the child is better off.
I agree.
And,
John Howard mooted that scheme years ago.
I think
John Howard mooted that scheme years ago.
John Howard did, but did he implement it?
I'm not sure.
No, I've not heard of anybody.
And look, these economic models, childcare models, they work on the basis the government pays the money straight to the childcare centre. It would be a far better delivery if the money went to the parents, and the parents then make the choice.
Yeah. What do you think, Jason?
Well, people will be popping out kids like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, yes. I think you're onto something. We seem to constantly go back to this, give money back. How about stopping taking money away? And that's what your argument is, Jeremy. I think that's spot on. Like if you've got a situation, let's just work on some raw numbers here. We'll make it up, $100,000 a year. $100,000 a year, you're probably paying $20-something thousand in tax. If you can all of a sudden say that $20,000 in tax is now only about $10,000, there's $10,000. Rather than give you a family bonus or a parenting allowance or whatever else, just say, Dad, keep going to work hard, prosper. Or Mum, if you can modernise it, if once the mother's sort of biologically past the point where she has to actually be there with the child.
Maybe whoever can earn the most money. Maybe whoever can earn the most money. And if you're insisting upon having a situation where both parents are parents and workers at the same time, why not allow the parents to have a nanny that they choose, they pick, and the nanny's salary is tax deductible?
Yeah.
Hey, Jason,
I can see all these things that, what they all think in Canberra is how routable these things are. They don't trust anybody. And of course,
well, what about the NDIS?
Yeah, I know.
The politicians would know about rorting.
Jason, can I just turn to another subject? In New South Wales, I understand the law is now that if you simply fill out a form, you can simply change your gender. You don't need any proof. You can simply tick the box that now you suddenly decide you're a woman rather than a male, and then that's it.
Giraffe.
What do you think of that crap?
Oh, I think it's amazing. I mean, yeah, you could just pick and choose, do as you wish. Isn't it amazing how crazy? I mean, if we had this conversation even 10 years ago, people would say, "Oh, mate, get off it." 20 years ago, if you said it 30 years ago, you'd be in a straitjacket. But now it's considered mainstream. It's considered normal. And it's considered almost special. And, I find the addiction to this stuff to be an insight into just how crazy and off the rails we are. And this stuff and these ideals, which, someone said to me the other day, there are job applications you can go through now for particular agencies that actually now give you up to 30 different options for a gender.
God.
Like it's anyone's business.
Bells.
Like who you sleep with, what you do in your bedroom, who it's with, and what their practice happens to be, or what they claim to be, is of nobody's business. You're a man or you're a woman.
I just put down methylated spiritualist.
Yes.
Keep away from naked flame.
Well, perhaps a better way of describing it is monosexual wankers.
Jason, I think the rise of childcare centres is an indice of the mortgage stress that people are dealing with, meaning that both partners have to work very hard to try and keep up with mortgages. That's why they're sending kids to these centres. Of course,
and paying for the privilege.
And because the government supports them, everyone's jumped on the bandwagon. They're popping up everywhere. I've got two near my place within 100 yards of each other, and another one being built.
Yeah, God help us.
Not many
But hear me out on this, and I've got to think carefully how I answer this, because I don't want to sort of be someone who appears to be ultimately judgmental on people who choose this path. But if you look at it, the housing market is where it is because the economy and society and the supply and demand equation has driven the price up.
No, I mean, negative gearing's done that.
Yeah, but that's part of it as well. That's part of it as well. But you go looking for reasons here. I am amazed. Like, I don't know where you bought your first home, but I'm going to guess it wasn't in the flash suburbs. And I can't use the Adelaide example because it's not my town. But people in Sydney know Bondi and its fame, Bondi Beach. I'm amazed how many young people go looking to buy units in places that are just blue chip places. They don't think for a second about living somewhere that could be just a little bit, lesser flash and start off there. But we have to go buying the big house. We don't think about buying and living in a small unit to get going.
No.
It's this sort of got to have it all, and got to have a trip a year.
Got to have it now. Yeah, I know. Jason, wonderful to talk to you. Fantastic.
Yeah, thanks, Jeremy. Good on you.
We will have to do this more often. I love your work.
Thanks, mate. Nice talking to you all. Thank you very much. See you around.
Jason Morrison, just a great Australian journalist. Summer's gone. No, it's coming. It really is. So is Professor Red. What's that, the Southern Aurora?
Famous train.
It sounds like the Southern Aurora.
Cold Joy and the Joy Boys.
Cold Joy and the Joy Boys.
And I like it more with every day. And I like it always hearing you say you're liking it too.
Professor Peter Reid in just a second.
You're liking it too.
Back in the days when men were men and movies really moved. Music from the 50s and 60s or thereabouts. Let me introduce you to Professor Peter Reid, a scientist. He's now with the Institute of Public Affairs. I remember, what was I doing? I think it was round about the time I first joined 5AA from memory. And what befell Professor Peter Reid befell me at 5AA.
The sword of Damocles.
The sword of Damocles. This is when you have the temerity to say something that is not
politically correct.
Politically correct or in line with the rhetoric. The rhetoric of the organisation. He had the temerity to say there is nothing really very much wrong with the Great Barrier Reef. Scientist up there with the James Cook University. And that, of course, that's a hanging offence. Professor, how are you?
Very well, thank you.
Welcome to the dining room table.
Thank you very much.
See, I do remember back to those days, and you, with great dignity, got over the situation, one that you never should have been confronted with in the first place. Why would they possibly not think, gee whiz, here's a scientist with an opinion, let's listen to it? Why?
Because I'm a threat. You're a threat to everything that's going on. If you went back 20 years before I ended up getting fired, you could have said exactly what I had said, and yes, they would have been a bit grumpy, which is fine. You know, if you contradict somebody and you say that, as I did, that there was quality assurance problems with their work and that it wasn't, that it was wrong, well, yeah, they're going to get upset, but you would never have been fired. So that's what it is, that they take over, they control everything. Groupthink has taken over throughout the universities, and you're a threat, so you got to go.
Well, I was talking to Professor Plimer earlier today, and he was scathing about universities and academic life based purely on public funding and the fact that if they don't toe the government line on various things, and including, of course, climate change, they will have or at least if their funding isn't cut, their funding will be in jeopardy. Would you agree with that?
Mostly I would agree with that, but actually if there's a Liberal National Party government, they're quite happy to contradict them. I would say the problem is more that they're completely taken over by left or extreme left-wing ideology, which is right through the public service. And, of course, what happens is that a centre-right government actually has a lot of trouble in influencing what goes on in universities. So that would be the only part where I might differ from Ian.
So when you've got a left-wing media and you've got left-wing places of learning, what hope do we have?
Well, this is it. The universities and the schools are where our problems begin. And I'd actually say that the biggest problem is the education faculties in the universities who train our teachers, and those teachers then, have our kids for 12 years. So we give our children to these people who are essentially indoctrinated. Now, look, a lot of the teachers come out of that indoctrination pretty good, but nevertheless, a lot of people who go into those teacher education degrees just can't stand it and have to get out. So you end up being left with people who are left or extreme left in the teaching profession, and that's not a good thing.
And the sadness is, of course, that the government that is, seem to want to get their hands on our kids as early as possible. So if you put your children into childcare, you can, as Les was saying a little bit earlier, they're not places of learning, they're places of indoctrination.
Exactly. My son's girlfriend at the time had a beautiful little girl, 4 years old, who we used to look after sort of daycare, kindergarten. And I remember her coming home one day, and Cheryl asked her, "What did you do at kindy today?" And she said, "Oh, today my teacher said that if I want to, when I get older, I can become a boy." And this is the most beautiful little girl.
No.
Yeah, I was just beside myself, kids have a bit of problem when they go through puberty, and the last thing you want to do is to put crazy ideas into their head, especially when they're 4 years old.
Yes. I think I'd be inclined to say to the kid, "Listen, if you enjoyed puberty, just wait till you get to adultery."
What also happens, Professor, is that governments put in frameworks, and I remember as a kid, I think it was called in Victoria State Waters and Rivers. They were tasked by the government to investigate the need for more water resources in Victoria. And to keep them in employment, they came up with the prospect of saying we should build the Dartmouth Dam, which they did. That was built. And then the government said, "Well, has that solved the water problem in Victoria?" And they said, "Well, no, we still need to investigate this," because that promulgated their employment for the future. And it's like the Barrier Reef. I've been up to, Professor, up to Queensland. I've been out on the reef. I've looked at it, and I've seen reef in good condition. I've seen reef in bad condition. And Professor Plimer would also tell us that the reef goes through cycles of good and bad. But he is now saying the reef is in very good shape. But I spoke to a conservationist up there just off the coast of Cairns, and the person said to me, "Well, we put in funding requests and it's concurrent with the reef being in bad shape. So every year when the funding model becomes available or the funds become available, the reef's not in very good shape now, we need to fund to do further work." Would you agree with that's what happens in the academic world?
The academic world, in the public service, they're in for themselves to a large extent. And of course, there are all these systems which engender groupthink, so they all need each other to keep the money flowing. They're also, it's not just that, to be fair to them. A lot of them really do believe that the reef is in poor state, even though it's got record amounts of coral. It's never had more coral since records began in the last 5 years than it's had in the previous 35 years. So that's how good it is, right? Despite all this bleaching that we supposedly had, which killed huge amounts of coral. So they seem to get themselves into a tizzy about the reef. And then there's this monetary incentive. So, yeah, of course they're going to find a problem with the reef or the Murray-Darling or the lower lakes of the Murray. You name it, it's going to have a problem if you've got a public service or a bunch of academics whose jobs and their mortgage payments are dependent upon the crisis continuing.
Yeah, keep the trouble rolling. Yeah,
exactly.
What about these things that seem to come and go? I remember there was repetition, strain, injury, and various things.
Well, that was a real one. That's real.
But you never hear about that anymore.
Well, it's got a different name. A lot of people, and now people are much more careful about how they hold their hands on computers and all the rest of it. So that was a genuinely real thing, because something new came along. We were all sitting crouched over these terrible old computers. Yeah. But you're right, there's a whole lot. The ozone hole. We were going to have an ice age, in the 1970s, and of course that went away.
Don't forget the millennium bug. The world was going to end when the clock chimed 12 o'clock.
But even
aeroplanes were going to fall out of the sky.
But even before that, the young people who weren't even born back then don't understand or don't realise the history. Remember, there was going to be a worldwide oil crisis shortage, and hence the United States went from big block V8s to 6 cylinders, and we did the same over here. The Commodore went from a V8 to a 6-cylinder and 4-cylinder. We had a 4-cylinder Commodore, believe it or not. Big family car with a 4-cylinder, wouldn't even be able to tow a trailer, let alone a caravan or a motorhome. And here we've got all these crises that I know. I mean, Trump's gone there and said, well, what are you people doing? These things have never happened. The sea levels have never risen, and people like Obama and other presidents have bought seaside, riverfront, frontage properties.
Yeah.
And insurance companies are not stupid. They wouldn't insure if the sea levels were rising, would they?
That's a good one. Professor, what do you think about rising sea levels? I mean, they say they're rising in the South Pacific, affecting those South Pacific islands, but not in Sydney Harbour and certainly not down here at West Beach. So you'd think if they were rising, they'd be rising everywhere, wouldn't they?
They are. I mean, one of the things that happens is that, yes, the sea level over the world has been rising very, very slowly for the last 150 years, and it's not accelerating, or if it is, it's only marginally. So, whatever's going on with the sea level is pretty, it's before the huge release of carbon dioxide. So it's not that. The Pacific Islands are actually expanding. You look at the actual data on that, the ones that are these low coral atolls, they actually grow, and they're growing. Because what happens is with those, they're made of coral sand. The coral atoll islands are made of coral sand. As the coral grows, it gets smashed by cyclones and waves, gets up onto the beach. The wind then blows it onto the beach, up onto the island, and those islands are actually growing. And Australia, yes, I mean, Sydney, barely a change. You would know if there was a crisis in the sea level, because the price of those harbourside mansions in Sydney would be zippo. You should go up to one of these guys with this huge mansion and say, listen, mate, I'll give you $100,000 for it because, it's going to be flooded next week.
Yeah, he'd grab it.
See how you go.
Professor, talking about crisis, as you know, South Australia, here in Adelaide, we have a huge algal bloom crisis, which the government
it's always a crisis.
Government sat on their hands for 3 months, ignoring the problem. Then they started getting authorities involved, and now they're researching it. And then I hear during the week that Flinders University has 6 eminent professors who are marine biologists who they want to flick out the door, who have been working on this algal bloom. What's the strength of all that?
Look, I don't know. It's one of the things, I'm up here in far north Queensland, so it's a little bit far. I've been meaning to look into that. Algal blooms and things of those nature are often caused by upwelling. This is a thing where you get nutrients coming from the deep water. Look, I don't know whether that's what's going on. I also don't know, because the trouble is that you sort of lose faith in all of these things. You've heard so many crises that when a real one comes along, you're probably going to be blasé about it. Yeah. So I worry that, I must say I'm not terribly worried about what's going on down there, because I think maybe it has happened in the past. But on the other hand, I don't know. It's just that I've completely lost faith in the scientists. I've heard of so many doom scenarios for all my life. Right from when I was a kid, the Great Barrier Reef here was going to be eaten by crown of thorns starfish.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. I never hear about crown of thorns starfish anymore.
No, you don't. So when I hear about this crisis down there, maybe incorrectly, and this is the worry, when it's the kid crying wolf. They've cried wolf so often that when the wolf comes along, we're going to get eaten by it.
Yeah, I know. Is there any hope for us, Professor?
Yeah, no, there's huge hope. I mean, what's happening around the world at the moment with the rejection of the net zero policies in America, it's happening in the UK, not so much here. But look, even here, we've had this Senate inquiry into misinformation and disinformation on climate change put up by the Greens and Labor.
What are we going to do about that? What can we do about that? Because that's just another attempt, and you know what it's like to be shut up. I know what it's like for people to try and shut me up. This is just on a grand scale.
It is, but what it demonstrates, that's what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to censor me. They're going to try to censor you. If you don't shut up, you could probably end up in jail. Yes. We don't know what legislation is going to come. But look, I tell you, people really hate censorship. They really hate censorship. Yes. And it will be so obvious that this is happening. It's actually, if you actually look at a lot of the stuff that's been presented to that submission, you can really see it. For example, all the universities, they're hopeless. They've all put in submissions saying, "Oh yeah, we got to shut down these climate deniers. They're all paid by big oil," and they actually provide evidence of why we must be shut down. And one of the beautiful ones they provided, and you're going to feel really good about this, is that apparently 67% of people agree with the proposition that this whole climate thing is driven by hypocritical elites. Okay, and these university people think, isn't this terrible? All these people mistakenly think that it's driven by hypocritical elites. When, of course, these university people who reckon that climate change is a catastrophe are hypocritical because they still drive their cars, they still fly in the planes, and they are elites because they're earning 2 or 3 times more than the average person in the western suburbs who's on Struggle Street. So these people can see that the general population are rejecting net zero, or at least the cost of it. They may still be a bit worried about climate change. I'm a little bit worried about climate change, but I'm also worried about crossing the road. I will take, precautions. People will take precautions, but they don't want to pay, thousands of dollars a year. So, for example, the IPA has done polling which suggests that people are prepared to pay no more than $2 a week, the average person, $2 a week on climate change stuff. They don't know they're already paying between $1,000 and $1,500 a week through their taxation. Yeah. Once they find that out, they're going to completely reject Albo, and if the Liberals sort of finally grow a set, they will lose on the net zero thing.
For that day, I just can't imagine. I mean, it's just a con, and I don't know what you thought about Trump's statement to the UN General Assembly when he called the climate thing crap, or what, a con.
Hoax. Con.
Yeah. Would you agree?
I completely agree. It is run by the elite hypocrites. I mean, there he was in the heart of the beast, the United Nations, who've never got, as a group, who've got so much to gain from the whole climate change scare so they can control us. He's absolutely right. Now, look, I have some time for those scientists who worry about it. I personally think that the extra CO2 should have a small effect, but the negative feedbacks in the atmosphere will probably make it very, very small. And a lot of the effects are, of course, good. If you're in Adelaide, or certainly Hobart in the middle of winter, an extra degree or 2 is not a bad thing. So it's not like it's all downside from a degree or 2, which I don't think will necessarily even happen. So yes, Trump is right on this.
And Professor, correct me if I'm right or wrong, but as we're always told about the global warming phenomena, and particularly in various locations on the planet, there are commensurately places on the planet that have actually become cooler.
Yeah, there are. Over the last 40 or 50 years, there's certainly a lot more that have become warmer. But, of course, the question is, well, how much of this is natural, how much of it isn't? And then the second question is, well, even if some of it is caused by humans, is it actually a bad thing? The classic thing, which I'm sure Ian Plimer would have mentioned to you guys, is that, this extra carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, it makes the food crops grow faster. Australian bush, the dry country bush, is getting greener, as you would expect, because carbon dioxide allows the underside of the leaves to close down. You can get just as much carbon dioxide food because it's plant food, and it loses less water. So water utilisation is improved with a higher carbon dioxide atmosphere. Australia is actually getting greener. They can actually measure it with the satellites, though, of course, you won't see that type of stuff in the IPCC reports because it's something that's good about climate change.
And you won't see the media reporting it either. That's I think that's disgraceful. The media should be an objective pursuit of the truth. And it's not. It's not.
Exactly. You will see it reported in some of the newspapers. The Australian, I think, will actually shows both sides of the argument, as it should. Yeah. But the overwhelming, that they will never show you anything good.
And Professor, we talk about, obviously, this morning, algal blooms. That's a topical subject. We talk about the Barrier Reef, another topical subject. But in your general sphere, how's marine life in general going? Are the fish stocks plentiful? Are the new species developing?
Overfishing?
I mean, are we marine-wise in good shape, or are we going backwards?
We're in much better shape than is often led to believe. I mean, in fishing in Australia, we have absolutely smashed our fishing industry right around the country. We now import, I think it's 65 or 70% of our seafood, even though we've got, I think, the third largest area of ocean of any country. We've halved and halved again a lot of the fishing industries. I mean, up here in North Queensland, the fishing industry along the Great Barrier Reef coast has been almost eliminated. My hometown of Innisfail, which used to have, a dozen fishing boats down in the river, you're lucky to see one or two there. And that's because they've absolutely smashed the fishing industry. And yet, when you look at the data on it, the fishing industry, in most cases, is in very, very good shape. Now, that's not to say that somewhere around the world there's overfishing that's occurring, but generally speaking, at least in our country, the fish stocks have actually improved. We're in really good shape.
Why don't we outlaw those, and I think they're usually Chinese, but these fishing vessels that are vacuum cleaners, these great big things that just suck up everything on the in their path and on the floor of the ocean. That can't be good.
Well, no, that isn't good. And of course, that's not allowed in Australia. I mean, that is absolutely not allowed. And of course, this is one of the problems with what we do. By closing down our own fishing industry, a well-run fishing industry, we then have to import fish from God knows where, right? Where there aren't the proper controls and management. And it's the same with forestry. The hardwood timber industry, quality hardwood timber, we have almost shut down in this country, almost completely shut down. You cannot grow high quality, well, it's very hard to grow good quality hardwood timber for, making decent planks and all the rest of it. So what do? Well, we have to now import it from Borneo, where it come from the rainforest or something like this, that you're often much better doing it yourself, doing it properly, getting the proper environmental controls, which means you don't suck up the seabed and leave nothing on. You don't just clear fella forest, a native forest. You do it properly. You take just a few trees and let it regrow, and then do it again in another 30 years. But we're not doing that.
Ethically responsible controlling of these things. I totally agree. You are a fantastic guest, Peter.
Thank you very much.
I noticed that you're not particularly hung up on being a professor.
Oh, no. I must say I just ignore all these university titles where they sound all so grand. I've given up on that. I regard, somebody like Professor Ian Plimer, he's a fair income professor. You just feel the intellect. But most university professors, they have about the intellect of a teapot, but without the practicality.
Here.
Wonderful to talk to you, Peter. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I hope you'll come back.
Will do.
Thank you, sir. Peter Ridd. Professor Peter Ridd. I'll always call him Professor. Someone's ringing the telephone. We're running out of time, but hello.
Oh, hi, Jeremy. Chaz Sparta speaking.
How are you?
Pretty good, thanks, Jeremy. Look, I just wanted to say what an incredible show this morning. I mean, H.G. Nelson.
Well, are you still there?
He's dropped out. No, he's gone.
Oh, dropped out.
I think he...
Just in the middle of giving us a compliment. Yeah.
We need more compliments.
Oh, of course we do. I mean,
we need boosting up.
Indeed.
Yeah.
On the eve of the grand final. Go the Cats.
I think the next step in the evolution of this program is going to have to be to get a switchboard. And a switchboard girl.
Oh.
Indeed.
A young Fräulein.
Hello, you dropped out.
Hello,
you dropped out.
Oh, how much did you hear?
Not much.
Just that you enjoyed the program. That's
the
all
good part.
That's all we got.
Yeah, well, your guest speakers this morning, H.G. Nelson, Professor Plimer, Frank Pangallo, Jason Morrison, Peter Ridd. I mean, you couldn't get a better lineup than that.
Indeed.
But my question to you is, what do you do to promote your show, Jeremy?
Well,
to
we're
get
not.
Lots of people.
Well, we're not doing anything. I mean, I thought to myself, look, I'll take out an ad in the advertiser, but if I tried to do that, I know that.
We're thinking about bumper stickers.
I know. If I did that, I think we'd have a problem with David Pemberthy. He would veto that. He would remove the ad personally. I think it's basically word of mouth. With the Facebook page, which we post on a Tuesday and a Thursday, that's grown quite remarkably. We've got something like 10,000 people tuning in regularly for that, and it's grown organically without any kind of publicity.
So I guess you promote the show on Facebook.
Yeah. I do that with the Court of Public Opinion from the Garage, which is Tuesday morning and Thursday morning. YouTube and YouTube as well. And I think it's sort of on various podcasts that Andy Martin puts out through, what's the name of his company?
Ozcast.
Ozcast, yes. He's one of those podcast providers or platform. I've never known quite what a platform was. I thought it was something
at a railway station.
A railway station. Trains would pull up at a platform, but apparently these days it means something completely different.
But a fantastic show, Jeremy. Just one final comment. With the decision that was handed down about Brittany Higgins,
yes.
You'd be getting reinstated to 5AA, wouldn't you?
Well, they haven't rung.
He's still waiting.
And I would think if ever they needed me, they need me now.
Ratings,
yes.
I'll keep up the good work anyway.
Well, you're very kind, and thank you very much for the call, and thank you for the support.
Okay.
Thank you,
Bye.
sir. Thank you. Sweet Pea. Funny song, Sweet Pea. We just thought of another panic. Gary thought of millipedes. Well, I remember the millipede scandal. Or
no, there wasn't.
Mr. Brindle solved that one, Jeremy. Don't you remember?
Mark Brindle. There's a
Mark
story.
Brindle.
Mark Brindle, but
There's a story in itself.
Yeah. Hello, boys.
Look, things just come and go. Things come and go. Man on the street is coming. How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you, Jeremy. I've got a bit of a cold, though. So
oh, God, I'm sorry. I've been there, done that. I hope you get over it.
I'm on the recovery side.
Good boy.
But it's never easy when you don't have a voice that you can use properly.
Oh, well.
Especially when you're being interviewed on a broadcasting show.
What's on your mind?
Well, I think that the several things that come to mind, but I'm probably going to start in reverse order today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start on that international scale first. Is this relationship that our Prime Minister is pretending to have with Trump? It's farcical that if he gets a selfie with him, that all of a sudden he's one of his best friends.
Yeah.
And, and that's supposed to appease us as a nation in the negotiation with one of our biggest defence partners in the world.
Trouble is, you see, basically, the truth is neither of them likes the other. They just don't like each other. And I think it shows, and they know it, and they feel it. It is not a good relationship.
And look, Albo's kidding himself, and Trump's got a constant reminder in the United States, and he's called Kevin Rudd.
Yeah.
Well, they're always patting themselves on the back, both of them, which is, their common personality trait. But gee, how atrocious to be able to just get a selfie. And it doesn't actually even look like Donald Trump in the selfie. Looks like some cut-out poster with fake teeth.
Look, it could be. It could be these days with AI. It could be.
Too many teeth.
Looks like false teeth, doesn't it?
It could be, but I was also very intrigued in the last week since I raised this in our discussion last Friday, was the Jimmy Kimmel story unfold, and how all the other late-night people went to his defence.
Stephen Colbert.
Yeah, Stephen Colbert. But all those late night shows are very, very left. And, they've got 17, 20 different writers. And they every night it's the same, grab bag of jokes about Donald Trump. You'd think they'd be able to come up with something better than that.
They, Jeremy, have an absolute hatred for the right side of politics.
Oh, of course they do. Yeah.
But he's the gift that keeps on giving.
Well, he is the gift. He plays right into their hands, I have to agree.
And they're rating...
Unfortunately, with the whole freedom of speech thing he did, he played into their hands and continues to play into their hands. And it's that old story, don't poke the bear.
No.
But when the bear is poked, the bear should respond in the appropriate manner, not also lower themselves to the same standard. There is still rhetoric about, ABC's license and Disney's merger and those sort of things, which I think is, a veiled threat for freedom of speech. But in any case, we should have that.
Sorry to interrupt you, but Disney's got nothing to smart about in terms of their revenue stream and their woke behaviour, and they've had massive movie failures. And Disney wanted Kimmel back on, so they put him back on after just a week, gave him a week's holiday basically, and that's, I don't think, hardly a fair recognition of what Kimmel actually spoke that night.
I agree. I think in part because there was a massive movement to cancel Disney subscriptions.
Yeah.
And they lost about 30% of their subscriptions overnight from cancellations.
Yeah, well, they would.
Which popped up, which was obviously the political influence that, can happen in the other way.
And look, I think the world is taken by storm how much influence Charlie Kirk did actually have. And post his assassination, he's going to be very influential, and the movement will continue, which I think has great impact and potential good for Australia.
Oh, I think so. And I think also it raises, that fundamental nature of Australia, which is, fundamentally, we were established on Christian principles.
And a fair go.
And a fair go.
And the fair go, and a mate being a mate. I don't think you'd find too many 16-year-olds nowadays wanting to sign up to war, as we did in the First World War.
No.
And no one, essentially, and rightly so, should be killed for having a view.
No, exactly, and I totally agree with
particularly
that.
not on a university, university campus where it is where people exchange ideas and argue opinions, and somebody comes along and kills you because he doesn't agree with you.
Well, this is the great thing about Australia, is we can have a debate, and I've got friends who are in the exact opposite area of politics from me.
Yep.
They're in the exact area opposite of faith from me.
Yep.
And we have wonderful debates.
Yeah, I think that's only...
And then we still buy each other a beer.
Yeah, that's civilised.
And that is what Australia is about. Australia should be able to still enjoy.
And that should be the theatre of exchange of views and ideas, and it should be complementary, and it should be beneficial to both sides, that we do actually exchange ideas and views.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, the other thing I wanted to just raise, and I actually wanted to sort of half congratulate these developers, even though I've been a victim of their noise for 5 years, is this 88 O'Connell, this building that's popped up here that now has people in it.
This is the old LaCornier site?
The old LaCornier site.
Yeah,
yes.
I know. Yeah.
Just down the road from the station you used to own, Jeremy, you know?
Yes.
And I used to live behind that in Watson Street, and then years before that in Margaret Street.
Yeah.
And the noise level was extremely disruptive. However, I feel a great degree of confidence now that North Adelaide has finally this opportunity to be rebirthed because of 165 apartments being built. I believe something like 5 restaurants, 1 shopping centre, and 4 or 5 fashion stores as well. And it's about time North Adelaide came into its own because, it really is one of those wonderful suburbs between the city and Prospect and Medindi and, Fitzroy, all those.
The problem is you'll have to park at Enfield.
Well, parking is always an issue here. Always.
Huge issue.
But the City Council are very friendly and they issue these little checkbooks that you can buy where you can extend the parking permit by double. And they're only $1 each.
Yeah.
So you just go into the council and you buy this checkbook of, say, 30 little checks.
Yeah.
You fill them in for anyone who's visiting you. And instead of getting 2 hours, they get 4 hours.
That's for residents, isn't it?
Well, that's if you're a resident. Yeah, you have to, and it has to be zoned within your residence.
If you want to go out for a pizza.
At the parking, at the apartments we're talking about, is there underground parking? Is there enough parking for everybody?
There's 4 levels of underground parking.
Oh, fantastic.
And one of those things worries me is that in my house, which was literally 50 metres away, I had a 44-gallon drum-sized sump in my lower level because I had an 8 by 8 metre lower level in the house. And then I had this 44-gallon sump that used to fill every 3 to 6 hours. And because what they don't know, and lots of people didn't know and probably don't still know in North Adelaide, is there was 13 creeks, underground creeks, flowing through that property.
And lots of tunnels too.
Well, that's right. And even where I am now, I've moved not far away. I'm only 500 metres away now. But even now that I live behind St Peter's Cathedral, the developers close to my house have unearthed tunnels as well. And their solution was just to get a concrete truck in and fill it up.
Oh, no. No.
No,
that's not right.
They just got the biggest, baddest concrete truck in and filled the thing up.
Your neck of the wood would benefit greatly if the tram was extended up the hill.
Well, the only problem with that, and I'm not sure if you're aware of this, is the engineering of the bridge.
Oh,
He's not able to handle the weight of the new trams.
And we have we've got a tram situation where we can't turn right into North Terrace from King William
Street.
Could
in 1908, I've seen pictures.
We could in 1908, but we can't now.
Don't worry, our Chinese counterparts will help us.
They were the little red runners, weren't they? Or
say it again?
Oh, the red. They were just the little tiny red trams, weren't they?
The red rattlers, yes.
Red rattlers, that's right.
Yeah.
And they only weighed about 5 tonne. Whereas these things they've got now weigh 30 to 50 tonne.
They're travelling billboards rather than transport. But anyway,
true.
They've got to make a quid. But the thing about North Adelaide is that I can't think of his name. We had a sort of a builder used to come in and do an at your service program on 5DN years ago, and the constant conversation was about salt damp.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it was.
Oh, that must be in an older part than where I am, and I'm in a probably 1990s construction home.
Oh well, yes. Because
so I don't have that.
What the modern house has, or the modern building has, is a damp course. But
that's correct.
When they were building these sandstone mansions and mansionettes and
they had no foundations.
They probably had no foundations, but they were built right on the ground, and the salt damp would come up and gradually eat away at your house.
White ants love it as well.
Yep.
Yeah, well,
Yes, and I think that would probably be the crew sort of more along Mills Terrace.
That's right.
You know,
Yes.
right
A lot
opposite
of
the golf course.
A lot of lovely old stone houses.
The old
there.
blue
Beautiful heritage homes all the way along there, and they've got lots of history. If ever you get a chance, and to all your listeners as well, walk along Mills Terrace and read all the heritage signs on the plaques in front of the homes. That it's got a vast amount of history. Yeah. Obviously, it was one of the first suburbs in South Australia, and it's wonderful to hear about. I remember reading one that was the head of the chief commissioner of the police department.
Yeah.
There's a plate on the corner of on the wall at Carclew on the corner of Jeffcott Street, and it would be. The one where Channel 7 used to be.
Strangways Terrace.
Strangways Terrace, thank you, Jeremy. And it's where Ayres left on his journey.
Oh, wow.
There's
a brass plaque on the wall.
Lot of history.
John Ayres, that's when John Ayres left on his journey across Australia.
Well, that's why, John, you pay the big bucks to live in beautiful North Adelaide.
Well, I'm still the man on the street, but I might have a house in North Adelaide.
Well, it's not exactly Struggle Street.
It's not Struggle Street, but I've got to tell you that
we're crying tears for you.
That people who live here enjoy living here.
Yeah.
For the convenience.
Well, you've got proximity.
We also enjoy living here for the inconvenience.
Well, you've got proximity, you've got heritage, you've got aesthetics, and you've got the North Adelaide Society. Which I have great.
There's many a great thing as being a member of the council of the City of Adelaide.
Yeah, well, I've got great respect for the North Adelaide Society. They believe in old stone houses and picket fences and just old school stuff.
And you've got Ann Wills as well.
And Ann Wills, yeah.
Anne's not in North Adelaide, is she?
Let's hope the North Adelaide Society treads on the plan for Leaf.
Oh, yes,
you mean Live Golf?
That's ridiculous.
Yes, Live Golf.
Yes. I can't
The
imagine.
destruction of 5,400 trees is a crime.
I think there's a better way around it. But yes, I mean, seriously, I played that course for many years.
Oh.
And it's a wonderful course to play. In fact, I prefer to play on the northern course than the southern course.
Anything wrong with it?
Not really.
Well, why don't I think
I'm not a great golfer.
Alone.
Well, the
I'm not a great golfer.
The Live Golf people have got to just work with what they've got. They don't have to cut down 6,000 trees or something to do it.
I believe so. Can't they just use what we've got and enjoy the fact that it's in our parkland surrounding a beautiful city like ours?
I know. We're being wound up. The man on the street and I
Thank you.
and all of
I'll
us.
say goodbye. And I'll try and have more Sudafeds over the weekend.
Oh, God bless you. Take care of yourself.
When you can't find a friend, you still got the radio. Singing with the when you can't find a friend, you still got the radio. The radio. Listen to the radio. The radio. Listen to the radio. Still radio. Listen to the radio. Radio. Listen to the radio.
Oh, Maria, you've rung in. I was wondering where the hell you were. Maria? Oh, where's Maria gone? Oh, she was there. I was so quick to try and welcome Maria that I choked on myself. Maria. Oh, we'll ring you back. Okay. Maria rang in. Usually Maria rings in about 9 o'clock. And I need her to talk because I can't. It was Maria that rang, was it? So, well, just because she hung up, it doesn't mean she's not there. Must be hovering by the phone. Something about the electric car, which is, what do they call those things now? They are the Chinese data gathering units. Chinese data carrying units. Okay. Well, I think that was a damp squib somehow. Anyway, I hope you'll be there at 9 a.m. on Tuesday morning for the Facebook posting, and again on Thursday, and we will be back next Friday for another show if I get my voice back. I just choked. Oh, hang on. See if we can get that. Hello?
Good. Not afternoon. Good morning.
Good morning. Afternoon. Welcome.
Yeah. Sorry I couldn't start the show this morning, but I'm going to be ending it with a great big bang.
Oh, good. Just give us a bang.
Yes. Coming back from the UN with our boat at the moment,
Yep.
it was very interesting watching all the despots and the dictators there.
Yes.
And I'm just so proud of a few countries that say it the way it is, one being Singapore.
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
Yeah. But I'm disappointed in our boat, and I've given him a mouthful of what I think, but we're on our way back to JFK to come back to Australia. I hope he doesn't push me out the plane.
Oh, you're there, are you?
Yes.
You're kidding me.
I am.
Yes, okay. Don't frighten me. I think to myself, I don't know much about Maria, but this lady who has 2 electric cars is probably an eccentric billionaire about whom I know little. But I'm quite transfixed.
I was hoping, Maria, you were going to push Elbow out of the plane.
Oh, don't tempt me.
People lining up to do that.
Maria, we want you to appear in person at the dining table.
Yeah, we need you to come in. We want to meet you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Always welcome.
You bring the electric car.
Make sure you wear your makeup. Those cars have got 5 cameras inside of them.
Yes, you know that, don't you? They're sucking up information about you all the time.
You'll be disappointed because I never wear makeup.
Oh, neither do I.
Hello, natural.
Yeah.
Yes. And
Chinese would love that.
Maria, tell me a bit about yourself. Are you married?
I'm a widow.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's...
Did you have children?
Yes, I have children.
How many?
I have 2 boys and a girl.
Well, that sounds like a nice family.
Yeah, they are. I brought them up right with values and manners.
God bless you. God bless you.
And Maria, circa age, I know that's a bad form to ask a woman their age, but we've got a regular guest here who's looking for a bride.
You can't answer that.
No.
John
Overton.
John Overton he's looking for a bride. John Overton is actively looking for a bride.
Accomplished newsreader.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful voice.
Sorry, John, I'm off the market.
Okay. Well,
we'll cross you off then.
Yep.
You're still not telling us circa age, Maria.
No, you don't have to do that.
No, Maria, don't tell him.
I don't care. I'm proud of my skin. I'm proud. There's a few wrinkles there, and I'm pepper and salt in my hair, on my hair, or in my hair. And it does not bother me, and I can tell you with all truth and honesty, I am, now get this, 74.
Oh, you're only a kid.
I wish.
Gary's very happy.
That's it. Yeah.
Gary's also very single.
Well, Gary's single. I mean,
he lives at Belair.
The world is full of single people. I don't know.
Gary's got a good car collection too.
Yes.
Oh.
No electric ones.
EVs would
he could be converted.
I don't look good on camera. That's why I don't buy an electric car. I've only got a head for radio.
It doesn't bother me, and I'm still waiting, Jeremy, to take you for that cruise.
Okay, all right.
Listen, you should get him to take you for a cruise. He's got some pretty amazing stuff out there in the shed.
Yeah, I know, but one might sort of break down. I'm sorry, Jeremy.
Oh, dear.
It does happen. No, Caroline,
at least the battery won't go flat.
Once a month when John Overton
all
comes,
jokes aside, look,
nobody... Yeah. We're working on it.
We're working on it.
Caroline was just in here trying to play Cupid.
Yeah.
It's all right.
Nobody should be forced to buy what they don't want.
No.
And all this climate change and global warming and black holes and that, honestly, we should ban and get rid of the United Nations. They're just a drain on humanity. And as I say, full of despots and dictators. We should get rid of it. And look how much we could save people that need saving.
But, Maria, the problem is this, that if you go back to 1945, when the United Nations was established as a replacement for the League of Nations, right there in the front was Doc Evatt, lefty, although, mind you, back in those days, the Labour Party was more like wasn't quite a communist party, but it certainly was a workers' party. And
pretty close.
Well, I reckon probably what we need today is a workers' party. The Labour Party now represents the elites and the intellectuals and the academics. They couldn't give a stuff about the workers. They were more a workers' party back then, but they had this fixation about being a player on the global stage, a world player. And this is exactly what Albanese is doing. He doesn't give a damn about Australia, I don't think. I think he wants to be on the world stage, showing the sort of statesman-like stuff that Australia has no call to do. His job is to look after Australia. We elected him to look after us, not the world.
Exactly, Jeremy, exactly. And this is what they forget. All that power goes to their head. And Albo is no statesman, no leader. He is a weak and trying to be an actor of being on the world stage.
Well, he could
very highly of you.
He could
China.
He could be if he just stood up there and he did not just remouth the rhetoric of the socialist left about climate change and a whole grab bag of other things. He could lead the world in a different opinion, but he won't. He won't.
Maria, he's just lining himself up for his next job, as they all do.
Yeah.
Something in the United Nations would suit him fine.
That's right, something where you sit down and shine your seat of your pants.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
We're being wound up, my darling. Would you like to have the final say?
Then. Have a lovely weekend. Speak to you next week.
God bless you.
Okay, you too.
Take care, Maria. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Liz.
A pleasure, I thank you. And go, Geelong.
And Gary and Tony.
It's always a pleasure.
And Caroline and guests. Where it's kind of it's growing, isn't it? It is. The Court of Public Opinion, JeremyCordeaux.com, will return next Friday. Believe in yourself and thank you for listening.
We're together, right or wrong. Where you go, I'll tag along. Remember me, I'm the one.